loads, and talking to you has been, and getting to know you has been one of my favourite bits of my entire life. Anyway.
I'm secretly in love with you, Rob. And
Hello!
I've not told anyone.
Hello, welcome to the Small... Hello, welcome to the Small Gamer. I'm your host, Rob. Welcome to Ladies' Night. It's 40k Thursdays. I'm joined by Nick Purr right here.
Hello.
And I'm joined by Tom Layton down there.
I don't know if I like to even pick about that, to be honest.
Tom, let's immediately start with what you're doing. What is that? High energy. What am I seeing?
Hold up. Is there a way for me to turn off the background thing?
I don't know.
I
really feel like I ran into that.
Can you see that?
It's a stomper.
It's a stomper. And it's going to disappear in a second, but I'm painting this bad boy up to go on the shelf behind me with the other stomper, which I also have.
Ruskies, thanks for subscribing. Take cover, lads. I'm going to say that we'll get onto this later, but because of the elite nature now of 40k, I'm only painting models with at least 17 wounds, but maybe not 18 wounds.
But not 11 or 6.
Yeah, never in 1,000 years. Oh, is the chat working? Someone put something in the chat if it's working. Nick, what up? Fist bump through the screen. I hope you're well. Colonel Cabbage, what up? Thanks for subscribing. It is working. Nick, how are you?
Yeah, I'm all good. Thank you very much. Pretty knackered, but that's self-inflicted through my current Warcraft 3 addiction.
Which is... Yeah. Nick, can we talk about you for a minute? Because you are, like, absolutely off the reservation, and I love it. You're like, Nick, you into wargaming? You're like, yeah, man, still playing Mordheim. You're like, wow. You're like, all right, Nick, competitive online gaming, where you at? Warcraft 3. That's where I'm at. Yeah.
It's still got a thriving esports scene, man. And I'm going to gate crash the shit out of that scene in roughly 10 years.
Good. All right.
When I get good enough.
All right, well, I want to find out how you both are, and we'll do that in a second. But before I do anything, I want to say a big shout out to everyone who joined us live. I'm going to do a tweet saying that we're live. I also want to say thank you to everyone on the podcast. Nick, Tom, I want to say congratulations to you both. Thank you for being with me since the beginning. We're now at 1 million downloads on our podcast. Yeah, so we can put that. You put that in your Twitter bio, million downloads or whatever it might be. So that's exciting.
I don't think we're all of me though. Otherwise,
we can only claim a small percentage of that.
Not a small percentage, a significant percentage. Arguably, some of the most potent percentage. You're like, I'm trying to think. You're like the tip of a spear. Yeah, you're not like you're only maybe 10% of a spear. Yeah, but just the tip is all you need. Yeah, that's the killy end. Yeah, you guys are the razor sharp end of the show.
Yeah, and that's the motto that I live by. The tip is just enough.
Sometimes the tip is all you have.
Are we the custodes? Are we the custodies?
Oh, yeah, shit.
And all the other new co-hosts are like Space Marines.
Yes.
Really broken.
I want to say big shout out to Imperial Pimp Slap for joining us. K-Dread, Scott B, Brad Glover, Colonel Cabbage, what up? Yeah, and apparently, yes, that would make me the shaft in this analogy. I haven't thought this through. I had not thought that all the way through, clearly. I want to say, Halalex, good evening. Thank you to all of you. Thank you to everyone that was for Gamer Patreon. We couldn't do it without you. We couldn't have done this for all this time without you. So you guys are... you're the gangsters. So I'm going to find out how both Nick and Tom are in a minute. Then the schedule for the show is we're going to talk about the new 40k terrain stuff that we heard about today, as well as blast weapons. I'm going to propose a new section for the show, which I'm going to enjoy at the start, but and then at some point, I'm going to go ham at Games Workshop. So, like,
oh no!
But that's only throughout the show.
Only one time, and that's because I'm tired. I'm probably a bit depressed today. It's a bit down, a bit low level because the world's just got me a bit. So I'm going to try and be enthusiastic with you two and talk about the thing that I love, which is wargaming and Warhammer, and we're going to have a great time. But at some point,
and obviously, as we know, what one person says on this show is not an endorsement from the whole. It is only the opinions and views of that one person.
Tom, is this? I don't know which way round this is working. Is this so I'm protected from you or you're protected from me?
Well, I'll let you work it out.
Right.
I might agree with you. I don't know what you got to say yet.
Okay, all right. Well, I'm excited. Decided on my way down to get a drink. So, Nick, since last week, I know you said you've been playing a little Warcraft. Done any wargaming? Interested? What's been going on?
I've done some wargaming. I played a TTS bolt action game, and the only other 40k related news I have is I've bought 10 Age of Sigmar brutes from my mate Stu, and I'm going to convert them into orc meganobs.
Oh, aye.
So, because the orc brutes are pretty cool models. They've got like quite heavily armored and they're quite big. They're sort of knob size. So I think they're quite a nice alternate sculpt for meganobs. So I'm gonna have a good conversion opportunity with those dudes. Because if the game's moving towards like more elite stuff, then maybe the meganobs could be quite good for the orcs. So I'm gonna give that a go.
I think you're painting Meganobs, Tom's painting a Stomper. I think the three people that quite fastidiously pay attention to 40k might have a general feeling that the game is going into a more elite space, right?
I mean, I was going to paint the Stomper anyway, so I wouldn't,
Tom, stop, Tom. Right, listen. This is a whole looter situation all over again. This is Nick. Let me tell you how I know that Tom is full of bullshit today. Right? It's because someone went, "Oh, do you reckon the Stomper could be put on Twitter?" And Tom immediately, I tugged him, and Tom was just like, "Here are all the stats and abilities that you can use. Here is all the other stratagems that you can use." And I was like, "A, Tom is never doing that research unless he's doing something with Stompers. That's a fact." Yeah. B, he had that.
Name me a rundown on this show.
He has the information to fucking hand. Groovin, Greg, thanks for subscribing. Love you tons.
If he's retained all that information, it definitely means that it's good.
Yeah. So watch out for the 2 Stomper meta
I don't know. I have a lot of
edition.
information on looters. It doesn't mean that they're good.
But you still took him to a tournament. That's what I'm trying to say. You're trying to fake me.
No, I took him to the ETC. It's definitely not a tournament.
Listen.
Absolute filthy casual.
I'm fed up with you. You spent a whole year ragging, joking, lying to me and Nick, basically. Nick, how do you feel?
No, okay.
It took me a long time to trust Tom again after that.
I mean, that's down to you guys because you just don't understand what context is. That's nothing to do with me.
Oh my god.
Lewis were always shit in singles events. They just happened to be good when you thought you were playing against demons and Deathwatch in team events. And then you never got paired into those matchups because your parent officer was a doofus.
Right, before we get on to you fucking... I'm not going to say any swear words. Nick, Nick, any other feelings? How have you been? Lockdown? Feel like an endless tunnel that you're cycling through? Only one of your wheels is a bit dodgy and is making a squeaking noise. Is that how you feel? Tell me, what's going on?
Me or Nikos?
No, Nikos. Nikos.
I was going to say.
I feel like, I'm going down the tunnel. One of my legs is injured, so it's pretty hard to go in a straight line. And then every now and then, if you're down the tunnel, there's like a flash of light that's going by, but it's just a screen playing Warcraft 3. I keep getting distracted. I'm like, gotta look at that, gotta play that. So that's my life for the minute.
I was just eating a chip.
Distracted by chips.
Oh. Right, hello, Free Raw, and Colonel Cabbage, Sir Bator. Oh, yes, Chris, what is going on? North of North London, you sexy ginger bastard. Right, Tom. Yeah, for the past week, what 40k have you been doing? How have you been? What's going on?
So, this week, I picked up some mech guns, and I went to see Scrivo in his garden, like a responsible adult who social distance. And I left him 6 mech guns on his doorstep, like a milkman leaves milk. And then I came home, and then I spent 12 hours playing my favourite game, Command & Conquer Remastered. And then I painted a Poxbringer, and that is me.
One!
Hey, it finished off my shelf, so I've got a Nurgle shelf over there with 2 Poxbringers and 9 Nurglings, all painted up to a standard I'm happy with, and ready to go to a tournament if I ever decide to use them.
Okay, how many Poxbringers do you have?
2, because their HQ's wrong.
Oh,
so that's like a cheap 5 CP battalion you've got ready to go.
Yeah, definitely, mate. Yeah, that's what it is. It's kind of more like a baseline, right? I can take that and then I can just add all the cool toys afterwards. And because I've got all the basic stuff painted, I could now only have to paint the cool stuff. So with all my office all now sorted out, what I can basically do is when I finish painting a model, I can get up and say, I wonder what I'd enjoy painting next. So I finished my Poxbringer. I painted a Demonette, which I was quite pleased with. And then I decided I wanted to paint my Stomper. So I am currently making my way through doing the lighter armor plates around the belly of the Stomper. So it doesn't just look uniform, it looks like it was kind of built out of lots of scrap, Evil Sun's metal.
This is
Just
honestly.
lying around.
If you'd told me 2 years ago I'd be listening to you talk to me about how you're hobbying in a particular way, I'd have honestly not believed you.
I'll have you know that I've been nominated for Best Army before, and I've won a major entirely off sports scores. And I have 3 Best Sportsman awards, so fuck you all.
I want to say big shout out to Toaster Her Boy. I think that's right for
Is that
subscribing.
Rickard?
No idea. It could be.
Toasty
Oh wait,
Boy.
is it? Yeah, is it Toasty Boy? Is it
gotta
our
be.
Rickard from last week?
It's gotta be.
Oh my god, I hope it
Look at
is.
that name, that's
Oh
gotta
my
be
god.
Rickard.
I'd also like Rickard to know that I've just finished watching season 1 of Battlestar Galactica with the missus. And
good.
that's is it good?
I enjoyed it. Yeah, I said it is good.
It's probably
I watched
it's
it
about
yesterday.
average. It's pretty average TV show.
I enjoyed it.
The series 2 and 3 were a bit shit.
They were, yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
god.
I thought the
Oh my
characters
God.
were way too stupid. Like, they were so
I'm not in the
they were
mood for
so
this today.
unrealistically stupid. So unrealistically
I'm
stupid.
not in the mood. I'm not in the mood for this today. Right. Anyway, tell. That's good. It sounds like you've had a good week. 40k wise, I've not done any 40k. I've been checking out the rules, which have been fun. I've been painting up this Lord of Change, which you guys can't see, but it's getting closer and closer to finish, which I'm
We
excited
can see it
by.
on the stream.
Well, no, because it's see-through.
Oh.
Like, because it's green screen. The background is
We
green
can
screen.
see some of it. It looks like
Yeah.
a weird goblin creature with
Yeah.
the green
Right,
screen
anyway,
on.
but I think maybe like an evening of stuff, and I'll be done with it. So I'm very much looking forward to that being good. But I'm not pleased that the demon rules were rubbish and guff. So
There are demon rules?
I
I watched
psychic
Jim
awakening.
rant
Engine
about
war.
that on the show. That was fucking hilarious.
Yeah, it was. This all sucks.
Oh shit! Shit, 2020.
Right. Okay. So. Ladies and gentlemen of the audience and crowd, before we get to the news, and I know that's very exciting, yeah, I would like to propose a new segment to the show, but I want
Okay.
both Nick. I'm pretty certain Tom's going to be in on this. Nick
Am I?
being the Nick. Well, you might be. I'll see. Nick being the smarter and more adroit member of our trio. Might
Definitely
say,
most mature.
yeah, most mature, although secretly also a source.
But smartest, I would argue against, because I don't know what that word you used was a second ago. So
I mean, we're all idiots. I think that's
Right, nailed
pretty
it.
much.
Now
Yeah.
the key, right? So let me make my suggestion, because I was looking at the new terrain rules today. Okay, and I've been doing a lot of fact checking recently when people post stuff online. So people have like posted an article, and then I've Googled it, and I've seen who the author is, and then sort of like a very classic. When I was a teenager, not even that, when I was very young, history class, history teacher was always like, check your source, and I was like, okay. So I've been doing that a lot. So I instinctively did that today on the terrain rule postage from Games Workshop, and read the Facebook comments. Evening, Andy Robinson, by the way, K-Dread. And let me tell you, I probably have never seen a larger collection of dumb fucks in my life.
No,
than
that's not true, Rob. Come on. You saw that comment section from yesterday. Come on, dude.
Okay, right. So, my proposal for a new news section is, over the week, us three find our favourite, and obviously we anonymously comment, yeah, from social media, and then we read it out on the show. What are your
Yeah.
thoughts?
I like that. I
Yeah.
love that comment. I was not in on it, but it feels like something I'd enjoy.
I don't know what we'll call the new news section yet. Maybe like Tales from the Warp, or
community news. Yeah, Tales from the Warp is pretty good actually.
isn't
yeah.
that already like a podcast? Maybe probably can't do that.
Community insight. I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway,
We'll work it out. We'll work that out in chats on the way.
yeah. So my proposal is Twitch chat. What do you think? And also you two. You two think this is a good news section to start?
Oh yeah,
Source-
love it.
I think it's got some comedy. It's got some comedy potential for sure.
Okay. Well, because I'll read mine out from today. Yeah. I'll read mine out from today.
Is this one I stole and posted?
No,
on
no, no.
Twitter?
Oh no. This is a different one.
It's a different one.
Oh no, this is on the terrain rules. Right. This was. I've just read the new terrain rules. It seems in 9th edition, knights will be as useless as they were in 8th edition.
I mean, that's correct, but
Tail end of
is
it.
wrong.
Is it? What, for all of 8th edition?
Well, so I'm trying to work out what he means. Will knights be significantly better or worse going into 9th edition than they were in 8th edition?
They'll be about the
Yes.
same.
They'll be
Same.
about the same, so
Yeah,
they are
'cause the terrain
exactly
rule
as
doesn't really-
useless
yeah.
as they were in 8th edition.
Well, I mean, he went through the entirety of 8th edition. I was like, what? What world is this guy living in? But anyway, okay. So we've had some suggestions here. Salty Tales.
It is.
Yeah, I like that. Idiots of the Week. I think that's to Twitter twats. This is Facebook, so that was.
I feel like we should probably move away from just adding
Yeah.
swear words to specific.
Yeah,
I mean, if we're using them to emphasize a certain point, then,
Yeah.
I feel like we desensitize ourselves. You know what
maybe
I mean?
maybe it's like some sort of message from the front of the community, like a signal from like like the front like line of where all the news is. Right. Anyway. Okay. So all right. Good. All right. I thought that would take longer to be an issue, but that's fine. So let's go on to news now. Would you guys like to talk?
Show, by the way.
This is the whole show. Would you like to talk terrain, or would you like to talk
Boards
custodies?
or custodes or bile or what was the book that got released this weekend?
Nick, what you
Engineer?
thinking?
I think we should go. Full narrative, and we should go the custodes first because they were the first things one of the emperors created. So
Yeah,
that's the
we actually
logic I'm
don't. We
using.
actually do. We do know the emperor creates custodies. Yeah, I was going to say, but interestingly, the custodies predate Thunder Warriors. Most people forget that. Which
Yeah.
is weird. He creates custodies, and he's like, "These are great." Then he's like, "I'll make like Thunder Warriors." Like, kind of okay, yeah. And then he makes Space Marines. He's like, "Get rid of the Thunder Warriors." And then now he's like,
Yeah.
made made Primaris Marines. Get rid of the Space Marines. The custodies have got to be sweating at this stage. They got to be like, "Not long, not long till we're made redundant. This is not going well for us." Okay, Alan Droll. Big shout out to Alan Droll. Has been doing loads of typing up for us recently. Loads of love to you. Custodies. Tom, you got the article? You want to talk us through it?
I mean, I can do. I haven't had a proper chance to read it properly, so I'll pretty much be live reacting to this. I just encountered something, so I just need to work it out. So I can read out every word if you'd like, because that way I get to learn as we go. So, new rules for the Imperium: Psychic Awakening. The Custodes, Hiss of Silence, and agents of the Officio Assassinorum are all hunting Fabius Bile through the ruins of the Cadian system. Don't know why. To catch that slippery villain, they're going to need some tools. Fortunately, War of the Spider brings them plenty. And apparently the Chosen of the Emperor have a whole host of tricks up their shiny sleeves. That's for the Custodes. So they have some stratagems. The first one is called the Fraternity of Heroes, so we have confirmed that they are frat boys. Use
Custode
this
bros.
stratagem... Custode bros, Chad Stodies. Use this stratagem at the end of your opponent's charge phase. Select one Adeptus Custodes unit from your army more than 1 inch from any enemy models. That unit can immediately perform a heroic intervention as if it were a character, but must finish that move within 1 inch of one or more enemy units. So that's 1 CP for that one. It's pretty situational, I guess, right?
It's
Yeah,
terrible.
I'm sure they've already
isn't it?
got.
It's a nice trick, I guess. It's a cheese thing.
Is
They've
it?
already got one. They've already got a stratagem where you can charge in your
But,
opponent's
yeah,
charge
but it's free
phase as
CP.
well.
It's called Swooping Dive.
Mm.
Yeah, so this one's 1 CP. It's a bit cheaper. I don't really think it's going to see too much use because most of the time you're not breaking your custodians up as a castle and then walking them at the enemy.
You would,
Normally
but
No,
when we get to
you
new
won't.
terrain, maybe you are.
Well, if we're talking about within the context of 9th edition, we could probably justify anything because we haven't seen the full rules yet.
That's true.
So
That's
we can only
true.
work within the context we currently have. And in the current context, I don't really see custodes breaking up. And then if one unit gets charged and then you just happen to be within 3 inches of another custodes unit, then it just piles in. It's
I
not
agree
like
with-
you can spread your units out.
I agree with you, serious Tom. Like,
Good. That's what the show's here for. Everyone agrees with Tom. Nick, you got any thoughts on that one?
it's
It's just a gotcha thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Pretty
Yeah,
crap, right?
gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, it won't be crap if you get a decent unit, maybe 6 bikes or like a big blob of dudes.
But again, I mean, maybe we will all be playing like brick in the middle in the new edition because it's smaller, but it's not significantly smaller, and
Yeah.
you still don't have as many custodians. So
Yeah,
I mean,
and I believe, as Alendrell points out, I think that the Swooping Dive might be a unit of a fly keyword only, so the Virtus Praetors.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what the specific wording is, but I don't think it's universal, whereas this one is. It's for any Adeptus Custodes unit, although you'll never use it on characters, right?
Yeah.
So there's that one. I'd like to see that
But I think-
comboed with something that makes your heroic interventions to 6 inches rather than 3, and then maybe it's a bit more useful, but...
Well, what
Right now.
what I was going to say is with the board size going down about 25%, heroic intervention range has effectively gone up 25%.
that's actually
I
maths, Nick. That's
Quick
actually
maths.
solid maths, and I appreciate you making it. Yeah.
We're going
that
to get
works.
to why you have a football goal in the back behind me in a bit with the board size, I think. But yeah, anyway, moving on. We've got superior fire patterns.
I know why that is, Tom. But okay,
Okay, there we go.
I'm excited.
So this is 1 CP again, and you use this stratagem in your shooting phase, and when an Adeptus Custodes infantry unit from your army that did not advance in your previous movement phase is chosen to shoot, until the end of the phase, models of that unit can double the number of attacks with rapid fire and pistol weapons. Now, the community team is recommending that we use these on Allurus Custodians. I have no idea what they are. Does anyone know what that is?
Are
I
they
do.
the Terminator?
I thought they had the axes.
Terminator variant.
They're wardens.
Oh.
Yeah,
But
Alaris
these do have
Terminators.
axes. And they have Stormballers.
The Alaris ones aren't the Alaris ones the Forge World ones?
No. So
No, they're the
these-
Terminators. Alaris have the grenades and the axes. Thanks, Jeremy Mace.
They
Those
have
love the
axes
grenades.
and they have wrist-mounted ballistic grenade launchers. I don't know what that is.
They're the plastic Terminators.
There you go. Yeah.
Okay.
The axe has a gun too. That's good to know. Okay, fine. It's Custodes. Fine.
Yeah, it's just a rapid fire one. It's just rapid fire one though.
I feel like if you have lots of shots, or if you want lots of shots, take some bikes. So
Yeah.
then we move on to the shield hosts. And I'm not sure what this is, so I'm going to read out the whole thing.
So,
But really-
sub-factions, Tom.
Okay, there we go.
So,
really
really-
exciting development is option to field your Custodes as one of 5 shield hosts. So each has a unique warlord trait, relic, and stratagem that reflects its background.
So that's exciting because Custodes, weirdly, much like Death Guard, aren't one of the books that have they don't have sub-faction rules. Yeah. Even though they had all of the narrative created for sub-factions, quoting my man Scrivo in the chat, they had all of the narrative that you would need for sub-factions. They wrote it all out, and then they just didn't write them in the book.
I wonder why you get a reputation as a law guy, Rob, when you're just reading out Custodes law. Like, no, legit.
I'm actually
I
quite
have no idea
famous.
about any of
I'm
this.
quite famous for my level of law knowledge, actually. I was
that's
thinking of
your main
start.
thing, mate.
I was
That's
thinking
your
of
main-
starting a law channel. I'm just not racist enough, so I'm
okay.
just going to stick to. I'm just going to stick to rules.
All right, okay. I feel like we're lobbing all the law people under one certain Norwegian-sized bus, but
At this point, you have to prove me otherwise. Yeah. Nick,
Poor
what do you
Lu-
think?
poor-
All
poor
law guys are
Luton, mate.
racists?
Poor Luton.
Yes or no?
Well, I'm opposed to all wide-sweeping generalized statements.
Okay, good.
All wide-sweeping generalized statements are bad.
Isn't that
so-
itself a wide sweeping generalized statement?
Hmm?
Isn't
yeah,
that
that's
itself?
a joke, Rob.
Oh my god. You guys, brilliant. Let's go.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. So the first warlord trait, when that helicopter finishes going past someone's microphone, is hello.
I think that's
Okay.
going to be a crowd.
Oh, okay.
Did it take that long? Did it take that long? Did it take that long to come through?
All right. Warlord
It's meant to be
trait.
instant.
Lock Warden. When resolving an attack made by a character model against this warlord, subtract 1 from the hit roll. When resolving an attack made by this warlord against enemy characters, subtract 1 from the saving throw. That is absolute shit. Fair enough.
Do you ever think though, when you see the shit rule in the community article, you know that the rest of the rules are going to also suck?
Yeah, I mean, but so they describe this as put this on your shield, Captain, and watch as they go head to head with some of the most dangerous threats that the galaxy can throw at them. Okay, let's put it on our melee shield captain who walks across the board with his 5 or 4 inch movement, whatever it is, and all the other characters slowly run away from him. Or let's put it on a biker shield captain and watch him try and fit his fat ass in between all the screens so that he can stab someone's character in the face. How exciting! Brilliant. I love having -1 to hit on my characters because they're often being shot at by other characters while behind screens. Fantastic. Then,
So also,
What
no,
about-
hold
what
on,
about
Tom.
big
This is
characters?
important. Yeah, aren't they quite squishy? Those Custodes characters, easy to kill.
squishy is. I don't really know if I can define Custodes as squishy ever, but in terms
That's
of
kind of
how you can.
That's my joke.
Yeah. But in comparison to like the units, I guess, because it's a certain number of wounds. I mean, regardless, you don't tend to want to be giving them this. You want to be giving them specific relics and warlord traits like 3+ invulnerable save and roll charges and what have you. I forgot what that's called. Because they're generally quite good, but they're not really.
Games.
Yeah, that's the one. So you don't. They're not generally character hunters. The only situation I can see this ever being really particularly useful is, well, what characters shoot at characters? Maybe you can say things like a Death Skull's shock attack gun that can shoot characters within 18, but that's very rare. What you're more likely to be seeing are things like Vindicator assassins that are going to be shooting at you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Or those
if
new
a
AdMech.
yeah. So let's
Or
say,
videos.
right. So let's say you've got, okay, well, I'll not be shot at in 1 in 12 games, a Vindicator assassin will shoot at my character. Firstly, let's assume that you need that character to live. Okay, let's give it this warlord trait, whereby I am now subtracting 1 from the hit roll. So now that Vindicator assassin is hitting on 3s rather than 4s. Oh, rather than 3s rather than 2s even. Oh, amazing. That was a
Is
great
it
use
is it
of my
-1 to
time.
be shot in combat, or sorry, -1 to
Yeah,
be shot,
it's
or
always
minus
-1. It's always -1 to hit.
Even in combat?
Yeah.
Yeah, just always. As long
But
as it's a character
why do you
target,
need that?
your character.
So, Black Horizon 40k, big love to you. Says White Captain can be a monster with that now. 9 wounds, -2 to hit, and dropping the enemy save. You can still be 3++ and have your Victor of the Blood games. It's pretty crazy, even though it takes a lot of
Yeah.
resources. I think that's
Right,
the issue.
but it's -2 to hit against characters, and I don't know how often characters are going to be hitting you. Like, I'm not generally dropping in Smash Captains to hit this thing. If you are hitting it with Smash Captains, that's fine, and now you're hitting it on 4s. with rerolling
Also,
ones,
what
which is an issue,
Custodes? What do Custodes suck against? Smite. What does Smite not need
Right.
to hit?
Yeah, well, kind of. So I'm just going to compare Smash Captain versus something with this and Smash Captain without this, right? The problem with the Smash Captain with killing these isn't the roll to hit necessarily, because you've already got 4s to hit worse with a -2, and then you're rerolling 1s. So you're hitting with about 55% of your attacks, something like that, and then you get to fight twice, then you get to give yourself access to extra attacks. So if you're going to hit it enough, you're going to hit it enough. Like, you get 1 fewer hit, 2 fewer hits, maybe, against Smash Captains. The issue is the invulnerable save. So you don't kill if you have Victor of the Blood games or something like that on a Custodes Shield Captain bike, you don't kill it anywhere with Smash Captain most of the time. Unless you're double fighting, and then we could talk about it, where I haven't actually worked out the maps. But when I was playing Blood Angels, it specifically was an issue. I was having to think twice about it, right? This doesn't really change any of that. So how does the game change if you take this? Do I just not hit you with characters now? Well, most of the time I wasn't going to hit you with characters anyway. Now you have a 1 in 6 extra chance of not being hit by a Vindicator assassin most of the time.
So you don't like it? That's
I think
done.
I think it's very situational, and I don't think it does much in the grand scheme of the game state.
Yeah, so what Tom's saying there is he's done his working outs. He showed his receipts. Okay. If you're drinking the hot tea, he just brought his receipts to the yard. Yeah, that's what he's done.
Fantastic. That did excellent cover for me to respond to someone on WhatsApp. There
All
we
right,
go.
good. So what's next?
So the next one is the relic. So we've done 1 warlord trait there, and now we're doing a relic. And this relic is a weapon, because of course it is, because it's on the community page. So it's called a Relic of Terror, and this is the Swift Silver Talon. Model with a Guardian Spear can replace the Guardian Spear with this relic, and you can shoot and charge in a turn in which you advanced or fell back with this. And it has a following profile. So the shooting profile is it's a 24-inch range, assault 4, strength 4, AP -1, damage 2. Shooting weapon, which of course you can double the number of. It's rapid fire and pistol. Bollocks. carry on. Then the melee version is just +1 strength, AP -3, damage D3. So it's basically a force halberd with an extra AP.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so I skipped straight over all this because they have always show bollocks when I was reading it. But the key bit, which they haven't showed in there, is that there's going to be, did they say 4 sub-factions rules?
5 sub-factions.
Oh, 5 sub-faction rules, which could be, which are generally quite potent because they're normally army-wide and they're normally
There's
quite...
at least one that's good. Like, so why I value often, or why people tend to value the -1 to hit thing is because it gets spread out across the army. It's like when you are constantly rolling -1 to hit against this army, you're losing a lot of shots. Whereas if you just have it on one guy, it's like, oh, well, it's kind of annoying to deal with now, right?
You can just play around it.
To a degree, especially with Custodes, where they're kind of slow anyway, and then you have different ways to be dealing with the biker captains. Like the biker captains in general.
They don't show. They don't show the sub-faction rule, right? There isn't.
I haven't got that far down yet. So
it doesn't. It just says it says they have a trait, a relic, and a stratagem, but it doesn't say explicitly whether they have actually an extra like rule, like shield host wide rule.
The trait will be the rule, but they haven't put that shield host. No. I mean, that's cool. That's great. Like, hopefully, there's some sort of parity between them, but often there isn't. But it'll be fun to see it when we actually get to it. Tom, what's next after that?
Cool. The next one is another stratagem. And it's for the Emissaries Imperatus subfaction. So it's 1 CP. You use this stratagem in any phase when an Emissaries Imperatus unit from your army is chosen to shoot or fight with. Until the end of that phase, when resolving an attack made by a model in that unit, ignore any negative hit roll, ironic, wound roll, and armor penetration characteristics. Wait, what? And any benefit to the saving throw as a result of the cover for that attack. So
basically, I think you ignore any and all modifiers that might possibly exist.
Oh, wait a minute. I read armor penetration characteristic modifiers, and I was like, wait a minute, you can modify something's AP? Oh, yeah, you can with a couple of examples. I was trying to remember some. I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, you ignore all modifiers to the purpose of that. Okay, that's kind of cool.
That's kind of cool.
That's quite good. For 1 CP, that's pretty good, dude.
Yeah, I think we might see more effective stratagems that have more like specific utility. Overfire twice. This requires you to have charged, like be in combat, like and want to operate it. I think that's a little bit more holistic and not quite as like +1 to hit, shoot twice, like sort of level of stacking kind of abilities. So that's pretty cool. What's next?
So the next one is Lords of the Shield Hosts. So, of course, you'll need someone to lead your shield host, and War of the Spider includes an option to promote one of your shield captains into a captain commander.
A captain commander?
All right.
Oh, wait, hold on. Wait, is he a captain commander or a captain commander lord? Because I'm not sure.
No, captain commander, not commander lord, yeah.
No, it's a shield captain commander.
A shield captain commander. So there's Custodes who are without equal, and then you have shield captains who are without equal amongst equals. And then you have a shield captain commander who is a equal unlike the other equals. Is that correct?
Yes.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
Flawless
all never
flawless
equal,
victory.
Some are more equal than others. Maybe you'd like to have them. Yes. Okay. They're talking about ambles, which everybody forgot was even a unit. Never mind. Carry on. They're going to get a few hits on that.
Yep.
So, what? It doesn't really tell me what. It's just plopped some rules down, and it doesn't tell me what they are. So there's one rule, which I don't know where it fits in, called Indomitable Constitution, where you can add. I think if you promote, you spend a command point, you upgrade a character to a captain commander, and then they get a rule of your choosing, I guess. So the first one, Indomitable Constitution, add 2 to the wounds characteristic of this model. So that fits in where the chat was talking about. I'll just see who exactly said it, so I can give them a shout out. Where you could give one of your captains 9 wounds, because you can give them Indomitable Constitution, which is +2 wounds to your character. So therefore, you can make your show captain on bike 9 wounds if you wanted to, which is decent. That's all right.
Yeah, because they're already pretty tough to deal with. I mean, I played a game at the last Games Workshop Teen Tournament against a Custodes player, and he had two shield captains on bikes. And it was the mission where you have to kill characters. You give them the intel, and it did a combo where you can basically one relic for a 3+ invulnerable save, and then another way to give someone else a 3+ invulnerable save. I think a warlord trait. And then he made them both the Victor of the Blood game, so they can re-roll. They can re-roll a save. So basically, I had to get through 2 3+ normal saves where they can re-roll one save per turn, and also a command point re-roll.
Yeah,
It was basically impossible to get any wounds on those characters. So having an extra couple of wounds as well, is pretty mad.
Or as I know it, one extra smite.
MWG Josh, thank you for the comment. Some are more equal than others. I've also got equally unequal. And I will also just like to say big shout out to Grinaldi for making me laugh. He said +2 wounds, peak of creativity. Peak creativity there. Like, I'm not going to say that this feels like... You read the Harlequins and you're like, that creative motherfucker did some good shit. And then the Custodes guy is like, you are the new starter. This is your first go. Like, you probably don't even butter your toast, like, as a human being. Like, that's
well, you
what I
don't
think.
put anything on top of the butter. It's just buttered toast, and that's it.
Buttered toast is great. Thank you very much. Like, especially have you ever
On
done
brown
posh,
bread.
have you ever done posh toast?
Well, it depends what you mean by that.
Posh toast is
posh toast.
Posh toast is you just. I don't know if you guys grew up poor, but this is how you make posh toast. You do some toast, you put some butter on it, and you put some salt and pepper on it. Posh toast.
Oh, nice.
That's.
Have you ever had a wish sandwich?
What's that?
When you have 2 bits of bread and you wish you had something between them.
This posh toast. That can't be better.
Anyway, all right, okay. So it looks like you will at least be able to upgrade one character in the Custodes to be Nails, right?
Or if you don't want to be Nails, you can take something called Master of Melee, which means that whilst this model is within 1 inch of any enemy units, but contain 6 or more models, increase its attacks characteristic by, have a guess?
1,
3,
2.
You're both awful. It was 2. So you can increase your attacks by 2, or you can increase your wounds by 2. So basically, it's a build your own Custodes character.
Yeah, no, my toast is always frozen. That's because you should never... we're not getting into this, not like last week.
It's like when you build a D&D character and you can spend like points to upgrade certain attributes. It's basically the same thing.
Yeah, well, talking about this character. Yeah, you're right, Tom.
Yeah.
Also, a big shout out to Circon in the chat, who's excited about the reveal of the 40k box set this weekend, because he's very much hoping it's actually the Lumineth Realm Lords and not all of the all the Necrons that we've seen.
No, that would be funny.
Yeah. Can I talk Sisters of Silence? Because this is very exciting.
Yeah, of course you can. Hand it over. Boom.
As long as you do it by mime or sign language.
I can do it in a funny voice.
Please don't.
The Sisters of Silence!
Okay, we can turn that off now, thank you. I
You
feel
hate
sorry
that.
for all the poor bastards driving while...
You hate
while-
that. It doesn't
while
go any
things like that.
louder. It doesn't go... I've got it all EQ'd, bro. Like, those podcast guys are...
I know, but imagine you pull up to the lights off Junction 26 in Nottingham, and your window's down because it's a hot summer's day, and the car next to you is like, there's...
Have you been outside today?
Whatever
You've been outside. There's no fucking
And
sun. I ain't
suddenly-
seen sun for 3 days. It's been nothing but rain.
People aren't necessarily all listening to this on the live stream. They're listening to it in their cars. It's meant to be sunny over the weekend. They'll be listening to it on the way to get some new miniatures from the newly opened stores, wind the windows down, and embarrass themselves with your ridiculous operatic voice. I don't know.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
All
Carry
right.
on. All
Right, so
this
this
is
is a silence. This is a silence. This is some great news for everyone at home. Also, I would just like to say that I'm incredibly underwhelmed by all of the Custodian stuff that we saw, and it's stuck, and it sucks.
I'm sure there's more stuff. I mean, we know the community team just rolls a dice. That's the page number they turn to, and then they roll another dice, and that's a paragraph they read out.
Yeah. I know not everyone lives...
I think at this point they've got some sort of AI algorithm writing
What's the
all
shittiest rule?
all
we can
these
announce?
all these articles. Scans them all and makes a witty comment about the rule.
That's it. That's their whole process.
Yeah, they've got it AI'd now, I'm sure.
Imperial Pimpsat says, sorry, Rob, toast stays frozen in our house as it's rather humid inside and molds real quickly. But that's not toast, is it? That's bread. Toast doesn't stay
We've been
frozen.
talking about bread in this show, and I don't know why.
Because of the toaster last week.
I blame Rickard.
Yeah, Rickard
Like,
freezes his
well-
bread, which I think is monstrous, but it doesn't matter. I agree with Alan Drill in the chat, and also big love to Alan Drill for always typing some stuff up for us. I don't think the Custodes... I'm hoping for more Custodes stuff. I'm going to put that out there right now. I feel like if they could do what they with Custodes, what they did with Harlequins, which was brilliant and inspired, I'd be super chuffed. Yeah? If they could...
And then took it away again.
Yeah, but, it was 2 weeks, man. 2 weeks, we were having a great time.
It's like a holiday. Harlequins
Yeah.
are good for 2 weeks, now they suck. Off you go.
Right, so as the Psychic Awakening expands across the galaxy, blah, 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 you can take Sisters of Silence in your Custodes Force, yeah? Thanks to their Talons of Emperor special rule. However, if you want to add them into another Imperial Force, the Null Maidens rule means you can also put them in a Sisters of Silence Vanguard detachment. That is, a Vanguard detachment that includes only Sisters of Silence units is treated as having a HQ battlefield role, slots of 0, and command benefits of none. Note that this means there are no compulsory HQ selections for Sisters of Silence Vanguard detachments. So you can you can get yourself a unit of Sisters of Silence and you can plug and play them into any Imperial Force, which is awesome in my opinion, because
Cool.
that's rad. Like they've got the special rule baked into themselves, and you just plug it in, and I think that's wicked.
It's
Whether
kind
or
of
not
like the Inquisitors and stuff, adding those kinds of things in.
yeah, like it's really hard for them. I don't envy themselves. They box themselves in a corner with the rules right on how they're going to create armies, right? So it's not the easiest thing, and
Yeah,
that's
of
good.
course.
Yeah. What's David Neagle says, it smacks of those I made a bot read all the codexes and write its own rules. Like one of those AI ones, Nick. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Anyway, they've also got include in the Space Wolves army and recreate the Burn and Prospero, apparently. They've got whoever you unleash with them, their anti-psychic powers will come in handy, which is this unit cannot be targeted or affected by psychic powers. When a psychic test or deny the witch test is taken from an enemy model, subtract 1 from the total for each unit of your army with the ability within 18 inches. So if you did want to put, because it doesn't say you need line of sight, so if psychers became a thing, and there was lots of them, you can maybe have a couple of small units of these, put them in some ruins or inside, like behind some terrain, and potentially be like dropping down those psychic tests. I don't think that's going to be the case, but it's nice as a piece of technical, like it's a nice bit of tech to have available to an Imperial force, right?
I still think it's a question of what do you take this as a Collector's Assassin. And a lot of that's going to depend upon what the points are going to be. I know, obviously, I said, oh, well, I can't really compare right now because we don't know what the points are. As it stands for Collector's Assassin, I believe is it slightly more expensive than these, but it also doesn't die. So
Probably because you have to take 3. If you want them in your army, you have to take them as a detachment. So you're going to have
that's
to have
fair.
a minimum of 3 units of them. So I presume they're in units of 5. So
Yeah.
15. That's definitely going to be more than one Colexus.
Well, also the Collector's just doesn't die though, right? Like a lot of the Collector's value isn't necessarily in the fact that it blocks Psychers. The value is also in the fact that it doesn't die to anything else either. So I really do value the Collector's Assassin. I still think it's in a vacuum the best unit in the game.
Right, so whether you prefer prosecutors, vigilators, or witch seekers, blah 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 blah, you'll be able to quell enemy psychers. They've got some new stratagems. 1 CP uses stratagem in your opponent's psychic phase when the enemy psyker manifests a psychic power within 18 inches. A Sister of Silence infantry unit from your army. After the deny the witch attempt, roll 1d6. On a 3+, the psychic power is resisted and its effects are negated, so they can protect
So it's
themselves
better
quite
than a
well.
Collector's for blocking psychic powers.
Big shout out to Canhammer Taran, who is excited about the Custodes. Give us
He's
based
very
on,
excited about Custodes.
just based on the information you've seen, Darren. Is this between 1 and 5? How would you rate it? And also, if you are listening and you love Custodes, or you're new and you're thinking about getting Custodes, please go and listen to Canhammer, as they will talk about every unit in minutia, in intense and serious detail.
Darren loves his Custodes.
He does. Right, so. Purgation sweep.
Purgation Sweep.
Yeah, is a new stratagem as well.
Oh, yeah.
Use this stratagem in your shooting phase. Select a Witch Seeker unit from your army that contains 5 or less models for 1 CP or 6 or more for 2 CP. To the end of that phase, when determining the number of attacks made by flamer weapons that model in that unit are equipped with, any results of less than 4 count as a 4. So, rubbish, because you're not going to take them anyway, so it's fine. And then they've got some assassin stuff. I'm fed up of reading this because it all sucks. Anyway.
You said you were really excited at the start of this section. You were already
I was. I read it earlier with Scrivo, and I was like, oh, maybe it'll get better. But it hasn't. It hasn't grown on me. Like, it's a nothing burger, right?
Yeah.
So then, Officius Assassinorum. Finally, we have the assassins. They can be added to any Imperial army now and come with a host of stratagems. But there is no wording on whether or not that is going to make an army not battle-forged, right? There's none in there. There's no wording in here that says whether or not it would make your army battle-forged or not battle-forged. Currently, if you do, then your army is not battle-forged, right?
What are we talking about? Sorry.
Just taking one assassin or
taking an assassin. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I think they stopped you getting the Space Marine doctrines. I think you could still take. You could still take assassins in a detachment, and your army would be battle forged, but you'd obviously be Imperium. So if you wanted, you couldn't get like Space Marine buffs. But if you wanted one assassin, there's that stratagem, isn't there?
Well, exactly.
This is like a stratagem on top of that stratagem, isn't it?
Yeah, so there's a 2CP shadow assignment. Use this stratagem before the battle begins if your army includes one Officio Assassinorum army. Remove that unit from your army and then add one Officio Assassinorum unit of your choice to your army. The unit that is removed does not count as being destroyed for any rules purposes. Unlike the other units that are added to your army, this new unit does not cost any reinforcement points, even in a match play game. Yeah?
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Now it doesn't matter.
So you basically just swap your assassin. So if you've taken a Vindicator and you want the Collectus, you just pay 2 CP to swap it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then so then 2 command points. So you got a 0 CP stratagem. Use a stratagem in any phase when a character model in an enemy unit is destroyed by an assassin model from your army. You gain 1 command point or 2 command points if the character was a warlord. You can only use this stratagem for each enemy character model destroyed. You can only use this stratagem once for each enemy character model destroyed. So if you kill with the assassins, you start killing the characters, you'll generate CP. So, and it's a 0 CP strat. So do you think that we're going to start seeing a bunch of stratagems that are 0 CP, which is like you've achieved your aim? Let's say tank busters.
You just need to remember it's an aim, I guess, right?
Yeah, I guess so. Like, let's say you got tank busters and they blow up a vehicle, 0 CP, gain a command point for blowing up a vehicle. Do you know what I mean? Are we going to see more like in-game? How do you guys feel about that stratagem?
Well, it's better than, because I know they've had a few stratagems in the past where I think they had like a Lictor one where it's like you spend a CP to gain like D3. So like at a minimum it's cost neutral. You spend one, you get one back, but there's a chance that you get an extra 1 or 2. So I think this style is probably a little bit better because it's a little bit less confusing because you just, it's I pay nothing to get 1 if I've killed this thing. But it feels like that sort of thing should be more like the new actions that they get.
Yeah,
like an assassin killing a character, but I suppose that's what he's there to do anyway.
And we also saw a 0 CP strat in Engine War as well, at least 1, and I think we've seen 1 before. Alandrol reckons that we've seen 3, so I think we're going to see more and more of these 0 CP strats. So effectively, in not secondaries, they're just using stratagems as a way of going. You're going to be able to achieve this thing, 0 CP. I think that's actually really fascinating, personally.
I don't think we'll see loads. I think there might be a scattering, but I don't think we're going to see loads.
I reckon we'll see 1 a codex at least.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. Okay.
Well,
Tommy,
I guess, right?
What do you think, Tom? Any thoughts on 0 CP strats?
It's fine. Just make sure you know your own rules. There you go.
Yeah. So is it to help with the CP cost of battalions in 9th? I think it's more to do
Although they
some
said they'd get more CP in each of your armies, which turned out to be a pile of shit. But
well, I think what it actually is because what they're looking for is to like reward you. They've said a lot of they want in-game rewards. So if you look at a lot of how the game is currently structured, it's you achieve your secondary and you're doing a thing. You achieve your objective, you're doing a thing. You do your action, which gets you VPs. So like you're playing your game your way,
and it becomes a value judgment of what's the most important thing to do at each time.
Yeah, for yourself.
Yeah.
Not what your opponent's doing. So they're giving you.
Although
more
you could try and you could just sack off your ability to achieve something to block your opponent.
Yeah, I think I'd like to, at this stage, propose a strapline for 9th edition. Nikos, you were the one who coined 8th edition, the edition of rerolling ones. I'd like to
Was it?
propose that
Sure, it was you, wasn't it?
I'm sure it was you.
I don't
Well,
think so.
all we know is it wasn't me.
Okay. Well, so this is my my real question: is because Games Workshop focus on, it seems, in this edition with you, achieving things on your own, getting your own victory points. Is 9th edition the edition of playing with yourself?
It quite possibly is. Yeah, there's just like two people standing over a table. Like, oh, my unit's done this thing, and like you might just end up being like a co-op game.
Well,
Yeah.
also once 9th edition drops, I'm going to be grinding out a bunch of games by myself on the dining room table. So
it is an edition of playing with yourself.
yeah, exactly. Especially at least for the COVID area.
Chaos Swarm, thank you very much for pointing out the looter stratagem already existed, talking about 0 CP strats. Loot it. If you use on looters, you roll a 4+ and they get it for free.
Well, that would require you to first run looters.
Which you did, so don't you lie to me again.
Fuck you.
I'm not having this. So overall, what are your thoughts about these Imperium units? Are you interested? You thinking about getting them, or not bothered at all?
I like shiny boys. I just need some more shelf space because at the minute, this stuff behind me, which you can't see, is meant to be for my books and my tools, but I had a bit of an overflow of my model situation. So currently, I don't have space, so I'm going to need to paint some hordes up, put them in a box, then I'll have some more space for some more toys.
Nick, what do you think?
I don't really know. I can't really comment too much on the rules because I've never really played Custodes. I know a little bit about them, but I would love a Custodes army at one point because the models are absolutely gorgeous.
They are lovely, aren't they?
And I reckon they could be decent in the next edition if it's going more elite, and there's more places for them to hide. Sorry?
Yeah, if they're the best of the best of the best, then they're the best.
Particularly if they're going to be first among all the same, apart from that dude who's extra special.
Yeah, Trajan Valoris.
Yeah. All right. So interesting for me. I think I would like to see all of the Forge World Custodian stuff fleshed out and nailed in, so it's perfect. And then I'm interested generally. I like the inclusion of the sisters. I think that's good that you could put them in there. That gives some utility, which I think is cool. And I reserve judgment until we see the sub-faction special rules. That's super important to me. So
That's fair.
right. Also, Vangelis has asked a question about collecting Harlequins in the chat, and my answer to that. Well, no, just my answer to that is currently, if you two don't agree, then pipe up. I would make 0 purchasing decisions if you're looking to purchase something to game with before 9th edition. I
won't buy anything for once it's released, maybe a couple of weeks after that, and then I'd start looking at what I'm going to buy.
Yeah, if you just want to buy a model because it's cool and you want to play it, then go for it. But if you're buying it because you think it's got good rules, obviously it's a big no there.
Yeah. That's
fire. I think Colonel Cabbage has made a really good point in the chat, which I was actually thinking about a minute ago.
Shit.
Saying the on the point that they said that everyone would get more CP. We know that if you take like a standard, everyone's going to get 12. But if you get 1 point per turn, you're playing a 6-point game. Then actually everyone's getting 18 CP. So that is actually quite nice.
It depends on the army though, right? For example, if you're playing something like Gene Stealer Colts, Orcs, Grey Knights, something like that, where you want to be harvesting CP, Guard to a degree, Imperial Soup, then you will be losing CP. It's just more balancing the playing field and giving you less options in terms of how much you're reliant upon it.
It's equality, not equity. Which is if you like everyone gets the same.
I've seen the picture with the boxes and the fence. Yeah.
No, there we go. Right, so on to Terrain. I would love everyone in the chat. I would love you to get involved in Terrain in this conversation. We quickly, none of us have talked blast weapons. That came out yesterday. Have you got any TLDRs? Any thoughts on blast weapons before we do Terrain?
Vehicles can shoot into combat if they've got a blast weapon, aka anything that rolls a number of shots. They can't fire it into combat. But you can declare against a different target, and then if you're out of combat, by the time you come to shoot it, you can fire it. Also, blast weapons get more shots against hordes. If you've got 6 or more models in the unit, you get a minimum number of shots of 3, which is, and if you're
Basically
firing
half.
against, yeah,
So
I mean,
if
I believe it's for the entire. Well, it's for the entire roll though. It's not per dice. It's for the roll. So let's say I'm rolling 46 shots. The minimum number of shots I can fire is 3, so it doesn't make a difference.
Oh, really? Is it? It's not per
Yeah.
dice?
So,
Really?
no, it's for the roll because
Is it worded
it's
badly?
it's the same wording as charge rolls. So if you say, oh well, the result of the roll is 3, right? It's like, oh, the result of the dice roll is 3, but it doesn't say individual dice as a result of the roll, and the roll is for 4 dice. So when you re-roll a charge roll, do you re-roll one of the dice, or do you re-roll the charge roll?
Yes.
You re-roll both of them, right?
Yep.
So it's worded pretty badly from what I could tell, it's 3 shots. If you've got 1d6 that you're firing, it works fine because it's half. But if you're firing multiple d6 shots, it's not that useful.
Only if you've got
I feel
6
like all
or more.
interpretations will get FAQ'd because it's not clear.
Yeah.
But
what is clear though is if
Yeah.
you do end up having 6 shots, this is key. Not 6 shots, sorry. If you do have 11 or more models, you end up getting the full 6.
Yeah.
Or D3 or 3 if it's D3, but I think it's full, which is really interesting when you've got like vehicles that shoot 46 shots, right, aimed at infantry. And I think the long story short, whatever the specificity of the ruling is, that with increased points cost of horde units and also with smaller board space. Would you say that we are 100% in a more elite environment?
No.
What do you think about that?
No, because I need to see full context. For example, if you're looking at things like, oh, well, orcs are going to suck now because they said make elites better, well, you've just made a massive change. It's going to have a positively impact those horde armies. For example, smaller boards.
Yes, yeah, I more meant blast plus points increase, but you're right. We do need to see all the information.
On the one hand, we've got blasts and points increases. On the other hand, we have points increases across the board and smaller boards. So, in which way does it weigh?
It's good. Nick, what are your thoughts?
You don't really know. So, we'll have to see, I guess. I'm not really prepared to comment and call hordes dead right now because I still think there's something they can do. Now you've got less time to kill all those boys.
True, but just in terms of the blast, there is at least an incentive now based on that weapon to have squads of 5.
Oh yeah,
or less.
100%.
So just taking into account that rule and that incentive alone, then running lots of squads of 5 is going to be good. That's exciting for me because one of my favourite lists that I ran in 8th edition was a Salamander MSU style list, where I had loads of tiny little units, like little 2-man units of veterans in drop pods. So I'm thinking about giving that list a comeback if it's any good.
Yeah. What it also is going to mean, though, is that you can spread out across the board more easily and block peep strikes.
Yes.
I'm interested to see how that's going to work.
Yes, I agree with that. I think to be honest, I was thinking about this last night. I was like, okay, so I've got a bunch of Imperial Guard vehicles that are cheap as chips, but if, let's say, blasted weapon is increased in price, let's make a bunch of assumptions and go along this. People put the 4d6 shots in, vehicle, and they do that 3 times, let's say. They do that a couple of times, and then I bring my 90 boys. Well, my 90 boys are getting, 48, 72 shots rain down on them, which is pretty scary, like, every turn. But in that environment, I say to myself at the army building stage, I'm not going to take Orc boys because that's obviously a mistake. There being no Orc boys on the tabletop means no one brings any of those blast weapons to deal with the Orc boys, which means there's a space for the Orc. Which means there's space for the Orc.
Meta.
Which means there's space for the Orc boys because no one's bringing anything to deal with the hordes. So hordes are always going to be, I think, available depending on points. If they're too expensive, then it's unviable. But hordes will always be viable because if being a horde is rare, then people won't tech against a horde, and if they don't tech against a horde, then you're laughing all the way to the shiny bank. Unless you've got something that's it's the autocannon conversation all the time, right? Autocannons deal with most things. They've got enough shots to do X, and they kind of do enough damage and got high enough strength to do to deal with heavies. So they're medium and they can deal with heavies and lights to a degree. Not either one at the polarizing end, knights or a horde of whatever, but enough. Right, they've got good variance in range, so it's quite key.
I do think in terms of orcs, though, I think there is. You can kind of keep units off the board with orcs because they've got the teleporter stratagem. We know there's going to be a new outflanking stratagem with reserves. You can jump units, and if terrain is going to be better for hiding infantry, I still think there could be room for orcs to be okay.
Yeah, orcs will be fine. Orcs will be fine.
They're jumping, deep striking all over the place. So I think
Storm Boys,
and also Storm Boys as well.
Mega Knobs.
So
they've got so many options. I think orcs will be good. They'll be really, really good.
Yeah.
The only problem I'm going to have is not being able to play my 468 Gretchen list because they now won't fit in the deployment zones. It's very sad.
I don't think that's
teleporter, man.
Yeah.
Put some in the teleporter.
I can't teleport 400 grand.
Why? Orc technology is based on just thinking you can. That's all you got to do, Tom.
I just think that the board's bigger and then the masking tape just peels off the sides of the board.
Just envision. Okay, all right. So we're on to terrain now. Yeah. At the end of the terrain, I'm going in. Like a full missile at Games Workshop. So I could either start there, or we can do the terrain rules. Which would you two prefer?
Let's do the terrain rules first, because is that relevant to the swooping dive you're about to do?
No, it's just based on terrain. I just think, basically, my gripe is I reckon Games Workshop have done over the Frontline Gaming boys, and I think they don't deserve it, and I think someone should stand up for them, because they're going to be nice, and everyone else, all the other shows are not going to mention it.
Is it on terrain or board, sorry?
Board size.
Or both? Okay.
Or board size. And I feel like someone should just stick up for them and just, like, fucking dog on Games Workshop for 5 minutes, so I'm going to take the lead, because I say take the lead. No one else.
I need a wee, but I want to listen to this.
Should we do terrain first, Tom? Do you want to go for your?
Right,
who knows where you're going, Tom? It could be anywhere. Yeah, in the middle of a professional podcast, it could be anywhere that you're going.
I'm getting a drink. It's fine.
Okay.
It's fine. I'm not joking, by the way. I'm actually going for a drink.
Okay, good. Nick, while he's gone, you got any thoughts?
Let's talk about him while he's gone.
Yeah, he's a nice lad, isn't he? I like him.
Great hair.
Yeah, oh my God, wild, absolutely wild. What you? He is really great. You got any thoughts on the blast stuff, or you're not bothered?
Well, it's going to be interesting to see what weapons get blast.
Did they say there was like an article? This is something like 114 blast weapons or something like that.
Really? Well, I guess it's going to be like stuff like Vindicators, rapid fire battle cannons. Lima Russ battle tanks. I'd be interested to see if something like the Thunderfire cannon or Whirlwind, if they become blast, and I mean, I hadn't noticed the thing that Tom said about it being the roll being a minimum rather than I assumed it would be per dice. So I was thinking that's great for like Thunderfire cannons, and it also actually saves a bit of time with Thunderfire cannons because for Thunderfire cannon you roll 4d3 shots, and if you get horde, and we talked about it before with 40k, there's a lot of dice rolling, so generating random number of shots is just another way of wasting some more time by just rolling dice to determine a number. Whereas if you know my Thunderfire cannon is a blast weapon, it's targeting something over 6, so each d3 is a minimum of 2, you go right, eight shots, nice and quick, and it's saving all that time. So that'd be quite nice if Thunderfire cannons are becoming blast weapons, and that is the case. But if it's just the roll is a minimum of 3, that's a bit shit, because generally for Thunderfire cannon you'd get way more than 3.
Yeah. I mirror those thoughts, and I'm with you. Tom, happy? Got yourself some water?
I'm ready. I've got my beverage. I am ready to listen to Rob's ranting.
Oh no, I'm not going to do that yet. We're doing that at the end. Nick wants me to do it at the end. Maybe I won't go in too much. It's just
no, do it. Do it. You can't blue ball us like this, Rob.
Okay. Right. So as we've suspected, or no, not suspected, because they haven't mentioned this, terrain is getting keywords. Okay. Now, before we get into terrain having keywords, I think it's quite clear that what we'll end up with is a TO pack where a board, because if I had to remember each one, if you and me, Tom, started a game and I was like, okay, well, this one's obstructing, this one's this. Yeah, I feel like that would be quite a complicated thing to constantly add to the game at the start of every battle. So I'm assuming tournament organisers and people
They'll put it in their rules pack. Yeah.
They'll put it in their rules pack. They'll be like, you're playing on table variants 1, 2, and 3, maybe. Maybe it'll be like, maybe there'll be 4 variants, maybe there'll just be 2. Who knows what it'll be, but I think
they'll say, this is a thing. This is a thing. This is a thing.
Yeah, because it would just be too much of a ball ache otherwise. I hope that's what we see anyway. So that's what I would do. Right. So
it could also create those awkward, not arguments, but those awkward conversations. That say you're standing opposite someone, you're like, oh, I think that terrain is X, and he's like, well, actually, I think it's this other one, and maybe there's a slight benefit for you for it to be that certain type. Or the other way around. But I think if the TO just says this is what they are on each table or map, then it just removes that whole conversation.
It does. And actually, some people are talking about Age of Sigmar. Vangelis is talking about it, and Dudar Day. And Elmer's saying Warcry, they have a Warcry style deck of pre-made terrain setups for tournaments. So Vangelis is talking about in Age of Sigmar, you would roll for the type of terrain that it would be, whether or not it would be mystical or something else. That didn't really tend to affect. That gave you bonuses or negatives, but it didn't really have any kind of otherworldly, like it didn't have like cover saves or line of sight, which is such a key element of 40k. And also he was talking about the fact that
it's more like a care package. It gives you stuff if you stood near it.
Yeah, pretty much. And you'd have AOS issue where because the terrain is so varied, people don't care about it and don't play it. That's not actually true. You generally tend to find that towards the top tables, it becomes an incredibly important element of where's the arcane piece of terrain, where's the commanding piece of terrain. So I think, Imperial Pimp Slap, thanks for donating $30 to the show. What the hell?
All right,
what the hell? Oh, what up? I'll give you a $30 rant. That's what I'll give you. That's what I'm going to call him from now on, a $30 rant.
He's unlocked it. Okay.
Oh, wow. Thanks. That's nice. Oh, what a nice man. All right. So, in Age of Sigmar, people do, at the top end, end up using the terrain rules that I've seen at competitive tournaments that I've attended and also done coverage for. There have also been really good examples of tournaments where they've given you a map and they've predefined the terrain. So instead of rolling it at the start, you've turned up to a table with all of the terrain already set out and keyworded, which I thought was great. The times that I've experienced that, I thought that was excellent, and I would like to see that at future Age of Sigmar tournaments. So just to give some parity, and I'm hoping the same thing. If not like in the pack, there's the set of maps. I would quite like to turn up to the 40k, and just there's a little bit of card down, and it goes, it explains what's on the tabletop, right? Because that way you don't end up with a weird set of terrain.
Yeah. I think it's just like nice. Like my point before, I think it's nice if the TO just takes all that decisions out of the players' hands. It makes it quicker, makes it more fair and balanced, I think. Because it just reminded me of a situation I had, not a situation, but basically something that happened in my last Age of Sigmar tournament I went to. Everyone brings your own terrain and we randomly just alternated putting terrain out. But my opponent specifically had one piece of terrain that he put right in the corner on his side where he placed his wizard. And after the game, I realised it was very specifically placed for his wizard because it was right on the top of the terrain. It was almost impossible for me, or really difficult for me to get a charge onto that wizard on that piece of terrain. So he kind of brought that piece of terrain and probably deployed it in the same way every game to put his wizard there. Like obviously because it's
that just sounds like he's
good place
abusing
for
a
a wizard
mechanic to win rather than actually being good at the game. It's like,
yes.
Oh, well, here's my trick. There you go. I am fucking big brain. Congratulations.
It was a very, very minor benefit for him, so it wasn't like cheesing, gaming the system. But
okay, I don't really play it.
Yeah.
Okay, well, anyway, so Nick, I agree with that. I personally think terrain at this stage, at tournaments especially, in a competitive environment, terrain should be organised by the TO and defined by the TO. If not organised, should at least be defined by a TO, right? So I actually think, I'm just going to say this right now.
Have I told you my story of the England practice in 2016?
No, but I'm living for it. Please let me know.
So I played against a guy called Sam Madadi. He was a very, very good player. He played the Funders Kennel staff at Team England in 2016. and we were having a practice game because I was playing for Team Ireland, and we were playing at Bristol Independent Gaming, and they had these hills, the styrofoam hills with the sharp edges.
Yep.
Okay.
And I managed to convince him that all of them were impassable, and there were 11 of them. And I was playing Eldar with warp spiders, and he was playing dogs that couldn't get up the hills. So I had my entire flying army. I just jumped over. No, there were 11 of them. I sat on multiple hills.
Oh, God.
You're a terrible human being. I want you to
Well,
know
here's the thing. If his opponent ever convinces him of that, it's better for it to be me at a practice weekend at Bristol Independent Gaming than some German
Actual
player.
event.
Yeah, at the World Championship.
Yeah.
Anyway, he learned his lesson, and I came down off the hill as soon as he did, because I felt like that was just abusive, and I wanted him to learn something other than don't let your opponent define what the hill is.
Oh, and then you got off your high horse. So you got off the hill, you got off your
And
high
then I
horse.
died. Yeah. Well, mate, it's a practice weekend. We're meant to fucking learn.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Yeah, mate,
It's true.
you definitely learned.
Right. So, top down, I am super about this. I want you both to know that. I'm really invested. I'm sold. Yeah, they've got me by the short and curlies on this one. I'm like,
really?
oh, you've thought about the design space, have you? Then I am. Because this is way more comprehensive than I assumed it would be.
What is
Okay.
the terrain rules?
The terrain rules.
It's way more like counterintuitive and vague. So here's an example.
Let's go through it all
screenshot.
first, and then
BRB.
let's do the examples.
Okay, fine.
Yeah. Okay, right, so terrain categories are either hill. Oh, no, Nick's gone. Tom, we need to vamp while Nick goes for also a drink. What are your thoughts about, and I would like you to be serious, currently, the ugliest Warhammer 40,000 army?
I've got them all in here.
It's the ugliest one.
Let's go to the web store. The logo doesn't count, right?
No, the logo does not count, no. Twitch chat, you're also welcome to jump in on this while Nick returns from the place. Dark Eldar, says Colin.
I was going to say Dark Eldar, but you know what? I'm going to say Tyranids.
Really? What, because you don't like monsters, or because you think the sculpts actually suck?
Because I think it's very much, let's just paint 90% flesh, and then we'll paint some chitin, and then here's a tongue.
All right, hold on. Let me see.
Have you seen this dickhead?
I can't see it. Podcast but listeners, when he describes it.
I have got a Trigon. So I've just got myself for podcast listeners. So
Trigon or Trigon Prime?
Fucked if I know. Anyway, I'm going to turn off my background effect so you can all see the Trigon. There it is. You see this?
Yeah.
Flesh, armor, flesh, armor, flesh, teeth.
What have I walked back into? What's
That
going on?
is meant to be one of the centerpiece models in the army. Now let's have a look at some of the base troops, right?
This is
Now,
great for the
sometimes-
podcast. Podcast like, yes, finally, terrain rules. An hour and 13 minutes in, yeah, and then they're like, no, we were so close.
If you look at an orc boy, if you paint an orc boy, it's got loads of character, it's got all bits of armor and all that stuff. You've got a space marine, you can, do lots of highlights, and that looks really cool. This is, I don't know, is this a termagant? This is a termagant, right?
Termagant, yeah.
This is 3 bits of plastic that are all relatively flat glued together. Flesh, armor, teeth.
Have you ever seen a
I don't
naked
wanna
human
paint
being?
lots
Have
of
you ever seen a
flat
naked
surface.
human being? A naked human being is just flesh,
Yeah, but
nails, teeth, hair.
Oh, right, yeah, that's the best bit, is it? Yeah, Sam, just, don't do anything with that. It's just there. All right, Sam. So,
Right, come
if
on,
I
we
want
need
to
to move
paint,
on.
I can appreciate painting flat surfaces. Because I could do some beautiful Sistine Chapel stuff on it, couldn't I? I could make it look really nice.
Could
I could
you?
do some blending.
Could you?
No, not me personally, but somebody else could, right?
Right.
Somebody else could do that, right? Here I have a flat surface. It's just the same thing the entire way, except it's bumpy as shit, and I can't do anything nice with it.
That's what washers and dry brushing is for, Tom.
Yeah, I love washing meat. That's really exciting. Yeah, I just love lobbing my tyrannid in a bag and just shaking the thing.
There you go.
Yeah, it's so much fun. That.
Dips the way.
What a beautiful model. Anyway,
Right.
He's got
Okay.
that production over there.
Okay. Right. Colin Lambert says Tyranid armor can be base painted neon green and come out still looking good. No other army could do that.
Doesn't mean I enjoy painting it, though, does it?
Don't understand what the fuck he's talking about, says Grinaldi. Everything in 40k is either flesh armor or both, and there's also a lot of teeth. That's good. The other people in the chat said that World Eaters are ugly, Squats are ugly, Imperial Guard are ugly, box tanks in boring infantry, Ultramarines are ugly. Agree with that. Tom, you're a monster. That's another little thing in there. I vote Eldar being ugly. I agree with that.
I hate
old,
Eldar too.
Old Eldar need to be burned. I think that's close to true. Hey, Her
Eldar
Minister.
is currently old Eldar, right? Have you seen
Yeah.
the aspect sculpts?
Ugliest army, Astra Militarum post Vostroyan. That's an interesting choice. And then, okay, right, we got this. Okay, good. Nick, ugliest army in 40k, very quickly.
I'm not a huge fan of Dark Eldar.
Yeah, do you know what? Their model range really needs an update, I think, quite drastically.
I really like their vehicles, though, which is what put me off seeing them. I think the vehicle models are really cool.
I think they could do with a drastic upgrade. Okay, right. On to the actual thing we're meant to be talking about. So, terrain categories are either hill, obstacles, area terrain, and buildings. So those are our 4 types. Now, that doesn't mean that each one of those 4 types has intrinsic rules themselves, because you can add additional rules, right? How units interact with them depends not just on the nature of the terrain itself, but on the unit's own size and what type of unit that they are. So terrain affects different units different ways. Also an excellent decision. For example, hills are essentially part of the battlefield for all intents and purposes, so are treated as open ground and offer no form of protection. That obviously, we'll talk about the counterintuitive nature of that in a minute. Obstacles, on the other hand, are Footslogger's best friend, and they offer a benefit of cover, which for the most part means +1 to your saving throws against range weapons. To infantry, beasts and swarm units, if the obstacle is in the way of the firing unit. So it doesn't even say you have to be on it, it just says in the way. Right?
Yeah.
Right? So, like, I stand on one side of an obstacle, you are on the other side of the obstacle, and you shoot at me, -1 to hit if I am an infantry, a beast, or a swarm. So infantry, doing good there. The thing about hills being open ground, military strategists or anyone who's ever looked up a fucking hill, yeah, time to be salty about this one. Nick, what are your thoughts? Are you big on hills?
Oh, I love a good hill, me.
Yeah, as much as trees?
So inferring that hills are basically irrelevant is
Maybe always were.
incredibly offensive. I mean, I imagine all the rambling societies in England will be
Furious.
marching upon Games Workshop headquarters as we speak.
Because hills are hard. Hills are hard to walk up. I'm just going to say it right now.
Have you
Like,
tried running down a
there's
hill?
a thing called hill training.
yeah.
Where you just run up and down hills because it's hard. So
Have you know when you go into the gym and you have that step machine? Yeah, that's hard, isn't it?
Yeah, like if you do
Yeah.
the runner and you put it on an incline, immediately harder.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. So, yeah, obviously, intern Matt, what a hilarious human being he is. He says, I have the high ground, Anakin. Means nothing now. So that,
There we go. Yeah.
again, obviously, Games Workshop wanted to make sure they disassociate themselves from the other sci-fi franchise of fame, Star Wars, and be like, high ground means nothing in this environment. Sircon says this is the best part of the show where the Honest Wargamer crew pretend to work out. What? We're dancing.
fully
Sircon,
aware that I
can I
got
just
fat.
say that Sircon, as a very famous World of Tanks streamer, yeah, it's really funny how much you like bring some real quality. I've watched a couple of videos about tanks, and it's really funny how you bring some like real quality reviews of the like rules and the new stuff that they've got going on, the new equipment, and you're such a salty bitch about fucking about your elves not coming out. Yeah, yeah, I see you. Yeah, I see you right now. The eyes. Yeah, he's like my fandom. Oh, some critical analysis. Yeah, Warhammer. Give me my elves now, or I'm going home.
I mean, he has good taste, to be fair, if he likes the elves.
Anyway, right. So, obstacles. So, you guys got any thoughts on hills, or you're not bothered?
What's a hill?
What? It's smaller than a mountain, but it's higher than my dreams.
There should be
Okay, good.
there should be like some movement penalty. So if you're moving up a hill, half your movement. If you're moving down a hill, +1 to your charge.
I don't know. I don't really want to encourage the production of Realm of Battle mods, so I'm perfectly okay with hills being meaningless.
Well, apparently Wellington won Waterloo thanks to hills.
True.
But I'd like to say it's because of the gusto of English linesmen and also a cracking Irish fella called Sharp. But I don't think that show that I
He's not
watched.
Irish. He's from Sheffield.
Oh, he is. But Harper's from Ireland.
Right, damn right.
Yeah,
don't you dare.
I'm so sorry. All right, okay. So we'll move on. Terrain traits. Okay? So when setting up a battlefield, you and your opponent decide which terrain traits will be applied to each piece of scenery. The traits are designed to be stackable. Now, this is something I don't want to happen. I
So
want them to
basically,
be...
I bully my opponent, right?
well, no,
This
you
is
roll
the
a
bully
dice.
phase.
Now, you'll roll a
And I
dice.
tell my opponent what the terrain is, and they agree with me.
The traits are designed to be stackable. So, a single terrain piece can actually be given as many different traits as you wish. For example, you may decide to count a bunker as both light and heavy cover. Light cover giving you -1 to be shot at add 1 to saving throws from shooting, and heavy
You
cover
don't even get into heavy cover, mate. I spent an hour before this show debating heavy cover and 18+ wound models with the team. It was a mess.
Well, I'm still going to have to because it's part of the show.
I
So
know.
I've got...
This is gonna get into. I'm just warning you in advance. This is gonna get messy.
Yeah. So +1 to your saving throws if you're in light cover, +1 to your saving throws in combat. So that's against shooting in light cover. Heavy cover, +1 in combat. Now I'll read the heavy cover one out because it doesn't quite say that. So heavy, but that's the intent, I'm assuming. Heavy cover, when an attack made with a melee weapon wounds a model that is receiving the benefits of cover from this terrain feature, add 1 to the saving throw made against that attack, unless the model making the attack made a charge move this turn. Invulnerable saving throws not affected. So Tom,
here's what that means, Rob.
Yeah.
If I am sat in a bunker and I am embedded in the ruins, and some guy runs up to me and whacks me in the head, just runs through the rubble full pelt and whacks me in the head, I don't get a cover save that the guy whacking me does.
No, you don't. And it's
Read it again, Rob. Read it again.
No. I agree with you.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. So what it's basically saying is you get +1 to your saving throw while you're in heavy cover, unless someone charges you, in which case you don't get it.
I feel like it's the other way around.
Well,
yeah, I think what Tom's saying is that. So I charge you, Rob. You don't get the benefit of heavy cover, but when you hit me back, I do.
Yes.
Which seems a bit.
Who's more likely to get the
that's how it works.
Hiding in the rocks, or the guy running full pelt over the rocks with his chest exposed?
The guy hiding in the rocks is meant to get the save.
Yeah, but the opposite is true according to the rules.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah, but it should be the unit charging doesn't get the save. Says 9 out of 10 days. Yes, I understand that is the point of what it's trying to say, because that's exactly how it works in Age of Sigmar. A unit in cover in Age of Sigmar gets cover. The charging unit doesn't get cover, right? That's how it works in Age of Sigmar.
Whereas
That's
here, the charging unit gets cover and the unit being charged does not.
because of the rule. It just is worded badly, but I'm sure they'll clarify that, which will be fun.
I'm just glad that they put this in the community article, because otherwise, how the heck would we be able to save?
Tom, I don't see. We could have a very long conversation about it, but we're not going to. Yeah, Tom
it's just
Tom thinks it needs clarity. As I read it, I understood it, but maybe I'm not seeing the.
I understand it. I'd just be surprised if that was the intent.
No, I think the intent is the one that we've described, which is, if you're in cover, someone charges you, you get +1 to your saving throw, and they do not.
Yes, I agree. That's what the intent should be, but the rule is the opposite currently.
Okay. There we go. So either like you guys can decide whether or not we're ambling around. Nick, but we'll talk about light cover, heavy cover. So cover, +1 save. Happy with that? Like, so different stuff. Like this is heavy cover, so +1 save and melee. You think this is good changes, or not bothered?
Not bothered.
Yeah, I'm not worried. But I mean, it's good that there's different definitions of it, so you can actually, because it was a bit like, different bits of terrain all work the same. So it's nice to have different rules to make different bits of terrain feel more unique. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Right.
Good.
Yeah. And
move on to obscuring.
Yes. I'm not having a long conversation about the wording here because I just don't think that's great. But eventually we'll have the info.
It's just pedantic, isn't it?
Yeah. So you can pick traits that will have more specific effects on the game, clarifying such detail whether or not the terrain is scalable, breachable, or even unstable. One of the real game changers is the obscuring trait. So I think we're going to read obscuring in a minute, but I think unstable is very interesting. There's a trait or a terrain trait, but in Age of Sigmar, where if something is volcanic, and in the hero phase, which I assume is going to be the same as command phase, roll a 6 for any unit within an inch, and if you roll a dice for each unit within an inch, and on a 6 it takes D3 mortal wounds. So I'd be quite interested to see if that translates over and why you would ever put breachable terrain on the tabletop. Sam Seal, thanks for subscribing. But poking out on a spar while trying to take models is more immersive. I didn't read it all. I'm so sorry, but thanks for doing that. Yeah. Right. Okay. Obscuring. So obscuring trait, not only does it offer an area of battlefield that blocks line of sight, but the largest models can still be targeted. After all, an Imperial Knight towers over all but the largest buildings, making it bulky car pace an easy target. Yet it should be all but impossible for its guns to match the same firing angles in return. Okay. So, obscuring. If this terrain feature is at least 5 inches in height, then models cannot see through or over the terrain feature. So we've got that. So far, it's tall. We can't see through it, and we can't see over it. This means that one model is not visible to another if you cannot draw a straight line 1 millimeter in thickness between them without it passing through or over any part of this terrain feature. Okay?
So what this is going to mean is everyone takes all their ruins off bases now? Because if your ruin is on a base, then that's all one terrain feature. So it's basically a 4-sided bunker.
Yeah. The height of a terrain feature is measured from the highest point on that terrain feature. So so let's say you've got like a scalable thing, like a statue or something. The whole thing is measured from there. Okay.
First of all, we're tearing that number down. Second of all,
right. So this means that one model is not visible to another if you cannot draw a straight line 1 millimeter in thickness between them without it passing through or over any part of this terrain feature. Pokejohn makes a good point. They haven't clarified what about into the terrain feature. So it's a tall piece of terrain, but you're in the terrain. They haven't clarified into, so that needs to be clarified. So you can't.
Once again, terrain rules.
Yeah.
Well,
so
the second paragraph, isn't it, in there? Models that are on or within this terrain feature can be seen.
And targeted normally, yes.
Yeah.
Aircraft models and models with wounds characteristic of 18 or more are visible and can be targeted even if this terrain feature is between it and the firing model. Note that the reverse is not true. So you have effectively this obscuring piece of terrain, an Imperial Knight, you can see the top of the Imperial Knight, yeah? And you can draw a line to it, so you can shoot at it, but the Imperial Knight cannot shoot at your infantry squad even if it could draw line of sight to it, effectively. So clearly the intent there, we'll talk about some of the elements, clearly the intent there is to make it so that big models, I know people have already talked about Mortari and Magnus and Imperial Knights or Chaos Knights or whatever you would like, to suffer the fact that it's almost impossible to hide them on the tabletop, so they suffer from not being hideable. And infantry already with blast weapons and points increases already getting hit a bit. We're seeing those large scale vehicles hit. So what do you guys initially think about this? Twitch chat and you guys.
I think it's just, when Marines came onto the scene, it made Knights struggle quite a lot. And I think this obviously isn't going to help them, but Knights at the end of the day are generally still quite fast. Like 12-inch move on the whole, as long as they're on full profile, so they'll be able to skirt around terrain and still shoot at people. So I don't imagine it's going to affect knights like hugely to make them really bad. But what I'm glad that it's 18 wounds, because that means like things like tanks like rhinos or stuff like that will be able to skirt around terrain and hide a bit more to get your combat troops or whatever a bit closer to your enemy. So I'm pleased with this rule. I think it's pretty cool.
Yes,
Have you-
and you're
by the
as
way-
someone who as someone who has a lot of Imperial Knights, right?
Well, I was going to mention this affects the Triumph of St. Catherine, which is the Sisters unit, which is effectively just a bunch of sisters on a base.
Yes, it does.
Because
It
that's got
does.
more.
Has he got more than 18 wounds? Really? Oh my god. Wow.
I'll read, before I get to you guys, I'll just read out what some of the guys are saying in the chat, okay? And then we'll get to you two if that's all right, if you don't mind. Well, Nick, I know
Yeah,
you've
you're
given
good.
us some
You're
info
good.
already. Bragg Lover says, I hate all of this. Grinaldi says, I don't like it because I see you, but you can't see me. Schumer says, infantry is dead as anything other than objective holding. Schumer Games thinks definitely a Sith Lord there, like talking in the definitives. Can Magnus and Mortarion hide now? No, because they have 18 or more wounds.
They
Do
have
they not?
16. They have 16.
Oh, no, so they can hide. So you can
Yeah.
fly. So that's awesome. So you can
I'm
fly
just going to
them
double
behind.
check. Mortarion might have more, but I'll double check for you.
Okay, that would be really great. Models I view true line of sight only worked if your table already didn't have enough terrain. The obscuring rule lets you adjudicate line of sight from a top-down view, says Shamsil, which I think is quite good. And Games Workshop need that for the terrain kits that they sell. Because
All
they
right, so
sell...
here's the thing.
Yeah.
Magnus has 16. Mortarion has 18.
I mean,
So-
Magnus being cool is great.
Yeah.
Like, that's
I
cool.
mean, I was talking about how Magnus could be good last week.
Yeah. So Pure Evil says, with the obscuring terrain feature, my reading of it, that units inside are only exempt from the line of sight blocking when getting shot, not when shooting, can be seen and targeted normally. So you can't actually shoot through the terrain feature, having them like a fish in a barrel, unable to shoot out. Have I gone insane? I would have to reread it, Pure Evil.
The fact that this is even a conversation, though, demonstrates how much of a mess this section is again.
Yeah. Poor Mortarion, I know, he's so cool. But there is a new Death Guard book coming at some point.
You've got a small board, though, so if you can get him to get in, then you can fart all over more stuff. It's fine.
Or you can just put him in Deep Strike. That's the thing now. You can pay
Yeah.
for that. How do you two feel about it? So, Tom, what are your thoughts on this right now?
On the terrain,
Yes.
I'm still trying to work it out, to be honest, mate, because I got in from work at like 5:30, had arguments about heavy cover and how this works. Basically, I think I boiled it down to 3 bullet points,
Okay.
and we weren't too sure on the third one, but the first 2 were correct. I'm just going to scroll back up at Wales chat so I can see it. So I said, what I'm getting is this. Can someone tell me if I'm Wales based? And the first one was true line of sight is still a thing. Second bullet point was unless you're a big ass building, in which case you always block line of sight. And the third bullet point was unless you're trying to shoot at a big thing, in which case it won't. So as far as I can tell, it's the same as it always was. It's just that bigger buildings always block line of sight, but if you're a bigger unit, it overrules that. Oh, both products have 18 wounds. I don't have the Thousand Suns Codex, but good catch, chat. I'll have a check right now. Apparently Magnus might also have 18 wounds. I thought he had 16, but I'll double check it. So as far as I can
Magnus
tell,
says. Yeah, Magnus has 18 wounds.
yeah,
Thanks,
there you
everyone.
go. Damn it, that sucks. I thought he had 16. I thought Mortarion was slightly tougher, but that's okay. Makes sense. Annoying, but oh well. You just didn't strike him, it's fine.
Yeah, so much for hiding my Tantalus, diabolical prankster. Like you and me both, bro. Although I have been trying to
See,
pay
you
for
have
3
some
years.
players going full time and just putting loads of effort into it, and then you have me just listening to gachi based playlists, and that's the difference. Okay.
So I think so. My initial thought, right? My initial thought is that I think that it's good, and I think because and I think it was Moon Tyranny in the chat, maybe someone earlier on, we were talking about the fact that if you already have competent terrain on the board, you don't really need any extra rules to make a good game. It's for all the people that have medium to rubbish terrain on a board. Yeah, and then you're able to now define terrain, and being able to define terrain means the terrain can look. The terrain doesn't now have to look the shape that you want it to be to create the physical space that you need. You can create your own, like you can create something that looks thematically cool, but but it like it has a keyword. Problem is though, is then that's a little maybe unimmersive because you're like, well, I can clearly see it, but I can't, which is a little bit awkward, right?
Well, it's you can kind of like I can see that like the terrain looks like as it is, but then there's like an abstract rule that it's obscuring for whatever reason. But like that could be like there's fumes around that factory that's clogging up the air, so you can't actually see through it. But yeah, I can see that point, but I think it's just way better for the game to have these kind of
clarity
rules in the game. So an example for the League of Knights, the tournaments that I ran, we made all of our own terrain for the event, and I tried my best to make big bits of terrain that would be able to hide knights. But it's really hard to make big enough terrain or tall enough terrain that you can hide knights around. So I think it was in the second one or the third one. No, definitely the third one. So the third one, I implemented a rule that all terrain was infinitely high, and I think that made it a way better game because you could actually just easily hide knights, and it just became a bit more of a cat and mouse game and running around terrain to get line of sight on different things.
I think
this is kind of a rule like that, which I think it's just
good.
really.
I think, as we were saying, unless you're specifically building to create terrain that's going to be difficult for knights, then it's not going to matter too much because you can always, if you can like work around the terrain to see the knights, well, the knights can certainly work around the terrain to see you, right? Especially with that 12-inch movement. So I still think I'd be interested. I'm very interested to see how knights are going to perform after the 9th edition drops.
Yeah. So I know that there's a lot of there's a lot of feel bads because clearly things like knights are like being picked out here as an issue. But don't forget, we're also seeing a clear reworking on points, and that might be a sweeping change in points all across the board. And so we don't quite understand the dynamic of how that might look. Not forgetting that one of the best things knights can do is shoot a bunch of fucking people and then stomp on a bunch of people. And now, with 25% less board space, they're much closer to being able to stomp on my face.
Yeah.
Which is really quite key, I think, actually, more than maybe.
Yeah. Also, they've got quite a few new things in like the Psychic Awakening book that make them faster as well. Chaos Knights are particularly quick in general, but I think Imperial Knights have a way to get like one particular knight very, very fast.
Also, in combination between the smaller board spaces and the fact that the existing terrain is now able to do more, do you think it's possible we see less items of terrain on boards? And what that would mean is that knights are less susceptible to being Benny Hill around terrain.
Yeah, I think that's possible, definitely.
Potentially. I'm not saying it's likely, but I'm saying, what if?
Well, also, I think one of the rules that they in the article it says even unstable. I feel like there's going to be more rules for destroying terrain as well. So maybe knights will be able to destroy.
You can
terrain.
blow up buildings, but you can't blow up anything else. Yeah.
Okay. So for me, I think it's good. Like, it looks good. I think I would always enjoy more clarity and I think about this a lot at the minute. Just do more infographics. You clearly have a ton of graphic designers working. Just do picture example 1, picture example 2, I mean, how fucking hard is that? Like, it's your game. Like,
you may get some picture examples though. Like, we haven't seen the full pages at the minute, or we've got our the little paragraphs.
Yeah, no, include it in the paragraphs. Like, if you've got one available in the rule book, put it in here.
100%.
Like, how hard is that? Like, be an adult.
Okay, that could be a community team thing then, rather than a rules designers team.
Unless they're because like you've just said, Tom, that you got home from work and you spent an hour on WhatsApp arguing with your Welsh teammates about 2 different rules, and that's because the wording is either slightly confusing or whatever, or
counterintuitive.
So if they had just had infographics a picture says 1,000 words, so they had a nice picture that helps you digestible rather than having to read it, it might say, because there'll be more people than just you, getting confused or by this wording or all the rules. Whereas, like, what's the point in this article? Is it meant to be showcasing the rules and getting everyone confused, or is it meant to be showcasing the rules to let everyone know what they are so they can get excited about it?
Yeah, that's I'm with you, Nick. I think if they'd have just taken a moment to think, do you know what, we'll try and make something valuable for our customers that makes sense, especially as it like there's a whole bunch of people that already tiny amount of effort in the chat in the comment threads in different places wherever you're absorbing your 40k information, and they're posting pictures, and I think anyway, I think they could put some pictures, which I think is fine. What if rules translated Spanish, etc., are even harder to follow than English ones? But you know what wouldn't be? A fucking picture. It would mean the same thing in every language. Exactly. It's going to be great. I think this is a bad sales tactic to say, look at what we're working on. It's going to be great. You'll love it. Okay, right. So to make life easy, the Warhammer 40,000 core rulebook includes some handy guidelines for which terrain traits apply to the most common pieces of terrain. So if you're playing with ruins, then it's area terrain, that's the category. It's got scalable, which means infantry, I think, will be able to climb up and down it. Breachable, which I think breachable, I think vehicle like infantry might be able to charge into it. I'm not sure what else that could mean, but we don't know right now.
Shit.
What is it, Tom?
Guys. Spilt my water.
Okay. But yeah, and also Nick, I've just realised, just because I play orcs in 40k, am I the Nathan Prescott of 40k? Because now I want pictures and not words, and I've spent all on the Monday show saying I want words, not pictures, and I feel like something's gone very wrong in my head. Is this?
Is one of his spores landed on you?
Yeah, I'm now more and more like.
Yeah.
Okay, right. So, if you're running ruins, scalable, breachable, light cover, defensible, and obscuring. We don't know what defensible means yet, so that's a cool thing that we don't know. We don't know what breachable and scalable mean, although I think I can guess. Armored containers, though, they're obstacles. They're light cover, they're scalable, and they're exposed position. Not sure what that means either. So it looks like there's a bunch of interesting keywords, right?
I think exposed position is going to be that rule where, the problems where people would fill the top of a building, so you couldn't physically put a model on there.
Yes.
To attack it, or like a knight couldn't attack you if you're on a container because it can't get its base within 1 inch of you. I feel like that exposed position might be the rule that allows knights, for example, to attack people in that position.
Yes,
that's my guess.
Yeah, I think that on top you don't get cover. I think that's fair. I think that once we get used to the terrain stuff, it can add a lot of depth. I'm really for the terrain stuff. No criticisms right now. I would need to play it for
apart from that, it's tricky to understand, but yeah.
I would say so. I feel some pictures would help with the clarity, but right now I feel like it adds some excellent potential elements to a tabletop. I think I mirror the idea that who was it that said that Breglov, I can't wait to spend 20 minutes at the beginning of every game working out what terrain is what. And I said that at the start, right? Just nail that. Just don't have that be a thing. Just make it so that they're pre-designed, so me and my opponent don't have to decide about it. Right, so I think it's great. I think I am so about this. I think it's excellent. This and the morale phase are the two rules I really wanted to see, and I think that this is brilliant. So I'm gonna call this 10 out of 10. No, 9 out of 10, because could it be explained better? Yeah, because it could be explained better. What do you two think?
I'd agree. 9 out of 10 so far. I really like a lot of the changes. Yes, some of it's not worded as crystal clear as we'd liked, and pictures would be better, but I think so far there's going to be a lot of positive benefits of this to the game, make the game a bit better.
So if 5 was average, 10 was 250 IQ inspired, and 1 was actually awful, I'd probably go for a 6.
Oh, you're not that impressed so far?
It's fine. It's okay. It's just we've got the same problem of it's just not written well. It might be a good change. That's fine, but I'm just a little bit. I said earlier, like a couple of weeks ago, I was talking about, I want to be excited about the terrain rules, but I've been let down so many times by how much of a pain in the ass the rulings are and how much they don't make sense and how many FAQs you constantly need. and
Yep.
it's going to be another one of those. If that's my main thing that I wanted to see change about the terrain rules, and it's actively, if anything, got worse, then I struggle to give it anything positive. The changes themselves I actually quite like, though. So that's why I've kind of gone, I am slightly positive about it, but the main thing I wanted to see out of it is absolutely not there.
Yep. Okay. Fair. I mean, fair points. I do understand that.
And I get you guys. I understand why you guys like it as well, which is it's perfectly fine. It's a matter of taste, right? I'm just like, come on, guys. Can we just? We know this is the main issue. Can we just fix it? They just need help, man. They just need help.
They do need help. They do need help. Which some pictures. We'll see. We'll see. And I think the best thing will be that we eventually will get some clarity. Again, this is just an article. The intern who's writing this must be maybe having a tough day. They've shown some examples, by the way, of some terrain, and in fact, actually, what table surface is that on? Because that is an interesting conversation.
Is that a
Oh,
map?
right, yeah, the pictures. Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
couple of like map pictures, isn't there? And it's like, oh, is this them just like sneaking in their new product into one of their articles? 'Cause-
Well,
Or is
okay,
it-
so
Are they kill team mats?
I don't know actually, but I've just looked at that. I was like, oh, that's interesting. So Twitch chat, terrain rules. I want to get an out of 10 from you, please. This is what I want. This is what I want to hear from you before we move on to the next section. Because a word on battlefield sizes that they've got. So 10, we've got a straight 10 in, a hot
Oh, we're
5.
talking about battlefield sizes now.
Yeah, in a moment. That's because that's the
that's
last
fine,
part
yeah.
of the article. 9 out of 10. Community should just maintain the alternate rules document that is functionally equivalent but not written like shit. See also kill team rules. 6, room for improvement. 10 out of 10. Terrain dice. Master of the Horde. 8, 6 out of 10. -1 Bragg Lover who loves knights. As a mono knight player, a 7 in different terrain as I was in 8. 7 out of 10. Anything would be better than terrain having so little impact. So generally, verging the positive, 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10. That spicy Necron artwork is in there as well. 2.6 for Morty. Need more info. Those are least pieces of puzzle with these articles. I think that's true as well. All right, okay. So the next element is a word on battlefield sizes. I'm going to read out the article for you and ask you two what you think. A number of you have been getting in touch regarding the minimum size battlefield measurements we introduced in last week's article. We're happy to confirm that yes, you can still use your 6x4 or larger gaming tables, be they gorgeously detailed realm or battle boards or lovingly created battlefields of your own design.
Yeah, we have to giggle at the roll battle board, so.
The minimum size battlefield guidelines for combat patrol incursion, strike fast, onslaught are just that, minimum sizes. They've been specifically designed to make the game more accessible and compact at smaller sizes and fit on most dining room tables, but they can just be easily as played on large battlefields as you see fit. The minimum sizes also ensure that the armies in bigger games won't be cramped on battlefields that are too small for them. So you will still have plenty of room to maneuver. Because I don't know about you two, but I was always trying to play my 2,000 point 40k game on a 1x1 foot board.
So here's my question,
just super
though,
weird.
right?
Yeah.
Who thought that Games Workshop were mandating what size boards they have to play on?
Okay. I'm going to get into this
Ever.
right now. Nick, what are your thoughts before we go into this a little bit more?
What? Who was policing the board size?
Yep.
Yes.
Just the culture, and because I don't think before they ever said. I don't think in the previous 8th edition rulebook
They
was
might
there
have
like
mentioned it, but
was
it was
there-
always 6x4s anyway.
was there a thing that said, oh, it should be played on a 6x4 board?
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
I think there
so
was, but I don't think it was enforced because of that. I think it's just that's what everyone played on.
Yeah, it was just
And
kind
if
of like
someone
this
wanted to
is
find
the
something different,
agreed.
why not? Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's just hit some. Let's go for some straight facts. Yeah. The playtesting was all done on minimum board sizing.
Yes,
Yeah?
it was.
Right.
Yeah,
100%
Okay.
it was, yes.
So it was done on minimum board sizing. So all playtesting, all points values, all ranges, all stratagems, all interactions by all playtesters was done on minimum board sizing, not our traditional 6x4s.
Oh,
Therefore, Games Workshop clearly intended, and we don't know about private conversations had, but I'm almost certain, clearly intended to make the playtesters and TOs around the world and they themselves play the game on the new board size intentionally. Yeah, that's their design. They have designed this game balanced and competitively and to be sold, to be played at the minimum board value. So, That's a statement of fact, right? So right now, what that article is a disingenuous piece of shit made by some cowardly motherfucker in a corporate position, yeah? And what they want to do, and this is the thing that really upsets me, is the FLG guys have spent a long time, like, whether or not you agree with everything that they do or not everything that they do, but they've spent a long time working really hard to develop a 40k community in America. Just like well, I mean, all over, really, but we'll just say America for now, but all over. Just like the WTC/ETC guys have worked their balls off their entire life to make a really competent European 40k community that is competitive and create the game, right? And then to put an article up, so both the WTC, the ITC, Adepticon, and Nova have all said that they're going to play minimum board size. As soon as it was released, they were like, we've all agreed, so there's clear consensus across the board. Games Workshop intend the game to be played this way. We all get on board with that. We're with you. And then Games Workshop back up in this article like a coward, and throw their independent players, like their independent people, to take all the water, to carry it for them is the shittest move I've seen.
Yeah, so what is like there's three dudes stood in a line, and then there's a whole crowd in front of them, and they're all asking, what board side should we play on? And they all kind of have a little huddle. Games Workshop in the middle says to ITC guys, we'll say that this is the agreed upon standard. And then to the WC guys, we'll say this is agreed upon standard. We'll all step forward in a minute and say that. And then after three, ITC and WTC dude step forward, and Games Workshop dude just stands there behind, doesn't step forward, and goes, "Oh well, these guys are saying it's the minimum. You guys do what you want, but it's these guys who are telling you what to do." No blame coming our way.
I'll see you guys on Reddit in a few hours.
No, I don't give a shit. I think it's bang out of order. I think it's fucking so out of order because these TOs, have worked really hard. It doesn't matter if they make money from what they do. They work super hard to make these events. I've been lucky enough recently to really get to know the WTC guys, and they're super invested and emotionally, financially, and time wise in making something good. And I know the FLG guys, and they are as well. Yeah, they give a shit about what they're doing, and for Games Workshop to throw them under the bus so the community can rag on them, I think is just cunty. They should have been the bigger corporation and gone, this is what we decided, and they'll take the hit rather than the independents, definitely. Yeah, and I'm going to go to town. I'm going to go to bat for both FLG, WTC, the whole group, the whole independent community. Whether or not they're in bed with the Games Workshop and they should have known better,
well, now they do. So
it is irregardless, and now they do. And I just think it's wild. And I think whoever, because someone's directed someone to make a point about that, and I think you've been a shit and you should apologise. I think, and they never will. They never will, but any vitriol, if you see anyone, if anything I can encourage you guys to do, if you see anyone ragging on any of those independents for any reason, just point them straight at Games Workshop. Just point them straight at them. I don't want to say, get your Realm of Battle boards, stick them outside Games Workshop and set them on fire, because obviously I would never encourage anyone to do that.
I mean, Realm of Battle boards are so shit. That's probably what I encourage you to do. Rob may not say it, but I will. I'll say that. That's fine.
Yeah. So I just think it's shit, and I wonder what everyone else thinks. Nick, I loved your analogy. I think that's great. Tom, you got any thoughts?
No, you did fine.
Yeah.
I mean, we could talk about it and its impact on the game if you want, but that might
go
for hours.
Go on. I'd like to hear a bit on it.
So the reason why I had the goalkeeper thing was because I was going to bash on looters again. So have you ever, Rob, I know you're not a massive professional football watcher at all, but Nikos, I know you are.
Big fan of Roberto Baggio, though. I think that's the last time I watched football, so I'm not sure where that's at.
There you go. So when you're in a one-on-one situation with the goalkeeper, you're running up towards a goal to score. What does the goalkeeper do?
Screams and runs out.
Ball. Runs out, right? And you run out to take the 1v1 to close the person down, because by doing that, you reduce the amount of space the person in front has to shoot, right? So let's say, if I'm all the way back here, you don't know if you can see my arm, you've got more of a goal to aim for because I'm not blocking as much space. Whereas if I'm really on top of you and close to you, I can block more of it, right?
Yeah.
So if I'm close to a ruin, then I have got less space to fire at and there's more space to fire behind. Whereas if I'm further away from a ruin, although my movement doesn't count for as much, it's blocking less of the board for me compared to if I was right up next to it. So if you're on a smaller board size, one ruin will block more on a smaller board than it will on a larger board, and thus loot is a shit.
That's a lot. That's a lot. That's called a long walk, Tom. Yeah, in comedy circles, it's called a long walk. You took a long time to get us there, and honestly, I'm not sure it's worth it. Yeah. I think less models in a smaller board space, not any smaller than it is now, and not any less models than I think it will be, is probably a positive for both me and everyone. Well, unless you are someone who likes, I think it might end up in quicker games. Although I like how they're like, we've made the game smaller and and less models really, but also, by the way, added this whole new phase at the start that will take 20 minutes. You're like, shit, shit. Stop this!
Unless your TO defines it for you.
Yeah. Apparently we're all laughing, says Black Horizon 40k, but he's probably on his own, laughing on his own. I didn't laugh
By
at you.
we're all laughing, he means all the important people, which is Black Horizon 40k.
I've talked about this all week, and I think that's important. I've talked about it all week, and that's how big of a deal it is. It's not going away anytime soon, I don't think. But
it's a hot topic right now, isn't it? Board size.
Yeah, I think it's a hot topic because there's so many dissenters that it's a minimum when it's clearly not. This article is nothing but confusing. I would love to see WTC, FLG, and everyone else just be like, "Oh, cool, fuck you then," and just go 6x4. Yeah, just be like, "All right, sweet, fuck you," and it just gets ignored. It just gets ignored for the next 3 years. Make me laugh. But seeing as the game,
guys, if you have got a map, use masking tape to go to the minimum board size.
Don't know anything drastic.
Don't do anything drastic or silly. Just put it on there. You never know.
Silly.
It's always nice to have some mouse mat to stick all your 7 books on.
I've actually printed out different images from Google Earth and have staple gunned them onto my mat to make my new mat. What do you think of that as a tactic? Good? Not good?
Love it. Beautiful.
Are they calming images or?
No, not at all. Really,
Rage.
really toxically filled rage images of aggressive cat faces. Because anyway, it's time for questions. It's towards the end of the show.
I think just one last point on the board size.
Please do.
In changes of editions or new books or whatever, as a community, we're very, very used to rules changing, but the table size changing is something way different to that. So I think that's why everyone's got their knickers in a twist over it.
What is that noise?
I know, I can hear it.
I think everyone. I think it's huge. But I think all of this is pretty impactful. I think I'm loving the terrain stuff, and I am actually. I think that they are not talking about the morale phase stuff. I think it might be a really big deal. I'm reserving judgment so far. I'm quietly confident about everything. I think the game sounds like it's going to be a much better space. I feel like it's might be more tactical, which is something, Tom, I know that you've been pushing for and hope quite a bit, right?
What, reserves?
No, a more tactical game with more additional rules.
You've been hoping for. I want a deeper game, yeah. Fuck the plebs.
Okay. I use 30 mouse mats for my board, so I'm all good. That's clever. See, that's big brain. Don't buy one big mouse mat. Buy loads of very small mouse mats, and then it could be any size that you want.
Can reduce the tiles, and you can know exactly. You can tell where you are. So, over here by the Roccat brand. we can see.
Yeah, just masking tape. Just pop them down. That'd be great. Honest Wargamer, thoughts. This is for you too as well, obviously. Thoughts on fortifications. Do you think every faction can bring one like AOS? Is it free in AOS? It is free in Age of Sigmar. Terrain is free in Age of Sigmar.
Can
Tom,
everyone bring one? Yes.
No.
Do they? Absolutely not. No.
not everyone, not everyone can in Age of Sigmar.
Eldar, hard no. Orcs, medium-sized no.
What if it's free though, Tom?
If it's free, then yeah, unless you're Eldar, in which case don't, because it costs you money to bring that model.
Okay,
it's not worth it.
I mean, the Metgun Workshop's not particularly worth it either, but
it's better than nothing.
Nick, what do you think about free terrain?
You know my feelings on free terrain, that I don't like it because it's making a terrain piece that they sell free in the game is just basically them saying that you have to buy this, else you're shooting yourself in the foot. Because if there was a unit that was free that you could take, you would 100% take it. Yep. But you'd have to buy the models for that unit. So I just don't like it because it feels like it just feels like you're being forced to buy a piece. Like some terrain for Age of Sigmar is crap. So if your faction's terrain is crap and you have to buy it because it's free, then it's just, I don't know, it just doesn't feel nice.
No, I get you.
I don't know, don't like it.
Yeah, I agree with you. Loads. A faction train was a mistake. Makes Games Workshop making massive models. I'll try. I'll ring them tomorrow. I'll be like, Games Workshop, yes, Rob. Stop making massive models, you dicks. Deal. Thanks. But I think everyone wants no terrain.
Vanajas in the chat's got it right.
What?
The free.
Yeah, free. Yeah, free in points, but not free in money. Like this free. I would bet to we'll see points for AOS terrain and GHB in the near future. I would bet we will see. I bet we will not. But I'm down for it. Okay, all right. Well, if no one's got any more other questions, then great show, guys. Great show.
Yeah,
we did some defending of our other independent brothers around the world. We talked some hot stuff. We almost got a bit pedantic, which was fun. Generally, I think we crushed it. Any thoughts? You guys have got any shout outs or thoughts you want to holler?
I'm going to give a shout out to Gozzy. Gozzy.
What up, Gozzy? Project Papa's got a question. Tom, I'm going to let you field this. What faction should I play as in Total Warhammer 2?
Lizardmen.
How many times have you played? If not very many, I play High Elves. But don't play Alariel, play Lothan.
That's so you.
Easy
That's
mode.
so you.
Easy mode. Also, spam 20 dragons, burn things. Great fun.
I'm going to go for, I think the most fun that you can have is Empire, because
you're boring.
It's not boring. It's the opposite.
I just recommended High Elves. So
they have no elite units really. So eventually you just you have to have double stacks running around because you just have loads of dudes and you're like, oh my god, my swordsmen are so shit compared to these giant fucking big orcs.
Knights of the Blazing Sun, 20-man stack, just running at things is funny though. Looks cool. Not saying it's good, but it looks cool.
But Lizardmen's also a great shout, Nick. Great shout.
Yeah, also, Lizardmen got loads of variety of units, cool tactical play as well. I'd recommend the Skink character to start off with because you get quite a nice starting spot at the bottom of the map. What I didn't like about the Slang dude is that you're right in the middle, so you have to defend your borders on top and bottom, whereas if you're the Skink,
it doesn't matter when you're Slag
at the bottom.
It doesn't matter when your stupid floaty toad just kills 700 people, just like it does in the tabletop.
But it's great having a floaty toad. It's really
floaty
good.
Toad.
Floaty toad. I would also like to just do a shout out for playing as the Wood Elves because it's really fun.
Hard, though.
Yeah, but it's really fun. I completed on Wood Elves, but it's really sweet when you do that because the whole map becomes forest. You grow more and more forest, which is quite funky.
You're just trees just following you around. You're doing it for the good of global warming.
All day long.
Yep.
All day long. All right, well, it's been a pleasure, Tom and Nick. Tom, you got any shout-outs?
No.
Okay.
Apart from Command & Conquer Remastered, go play that. It's a very good game.
Everyone's all about the RTS nowadays.
I mean,
Yes.
I've always loved Command & Conquer. It was my first game.
I think it was one of my first. I think it was one of my first games as well, actually. That
I
and
didn't realise, Rob, I've
JRPGs.
been in the hobby for 3 times as long as you have.
Have you?
It's really real, yeah. So
yeah,
you know
Dave was quite surprised. He was like, "What?"
Yeah, you know how you were talking about people pick up a hobby when they're kids and then they discover girls and booze and stuff.
Traditional.
Well, traditionally, I completely skipped that second phase, and so I'm still here for a grand total of 17 years.
I really like that you skipped the phase. That's really
skipped the
important.
phase.
Was that because did you skip that phase because the wording was too complicated? And
No, I skipped that phase because I skipped that phase because I discovered double Land Raider, Chaos Space Marines with Dozer Blades, and I went to tournaments and it was great.
Right, it's been a pleasure, and it always is a pleasure. Please, if you would like to, join us on Saturday for the now patented reaction live stream from the Honest Wargamer crew. We are nothing at this stage but glorious shit talkers, and it's going to be fun. It's been fun every time we've done it. We're going to get to see people tell us that they can tell us what's in the box, even though we already know what's inside the box, which is how they're going to drag that out for an hour.
I'm really interested to see how they're going to hype it up. It's going to be.
Well,
I actually like the guys, so I'm interested to watch and try and hype up
Nothing.
pre-release thing.
Yeah. So join us for Saturday on that. That's going to be really fun. And then, join us for every other day. Check out our Twitter and Facebook for information for when we're going to be live. Scrivo will be doing all that. Big love to you two. You two, great. Everyone who's joined us live.
Big sexy bastard.
Thank you very much. Everyone who's joined us live, you guys rock. And also, thank you to everyone on the Honest Wargamer Patreon. Couldn't do it without you. So, thanks. If you listen to the podcast, stay hydrated. Have a great day. So hyped for the new 40k. Haven't played in years, and this might be an edition that brings us back, says Fez the Druid. In 2 years, Fez the Druid, I want you playing on an international team on the world stage. That's your mission.
Pray for 10th.
Yeah. Yes. We would already like 10th edition, please. Right, everyone have a great day. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.